Hello, everyone, and welcome, one and all, to the Risen Esports Divine League Finals. We are here at the end of it all. This is the final showdown between the two teams that have gone the distance, the Miami University Redhawks, as well as Wichita Wolves Black. Miami University coming in from the winner's bracket, Wichita Wolves coming in through the redemption bracket. They were actually knocked down by the Miami University, and they are returning, seeking revenge, seeking vengeance, trying to get themselves a finals and a championship under their belt. My name is Coleslaw. Joining me on this cast here is Random Minion Caster. RMC, we have a lot to look forward to. How are you doing?
I'm doing well, and as you kind of said, looking very much forward to this particular matchup here. We've not seen the Redhawks for 2 weeks now. They've just been dominating the winner's bracket, and they got 2 weeks to adapt and watch everybody else. Whereas the Wichita Wolves, since they got knocked down by the Redhawks here, they've been shuffling things up. It looks like they've kind of figured out a bit of a winning formula because they managed to blaze their way up from the losers bracket and getting a ton of experience under their belt while they were at it.
Yeah, and last week we saw them upset 8-Bit Esports. Going into that series, we were convinced that 8-Bit was going to be the favorites, and Wichita Wolves took the series relatively handily. They looked confident, they looked comfortable, they looked like they were in control the whole way, and they punched their ticket in here looking like serious contenders. And so while we might have said before that this would be a huge favorite for the Miami University Redhawks, now it's a little different. We have a new patch, a team that's looking a little better. They're on the rise. They're coming off of 2 straight wins. They've got momentum in the wind at their back. We're going to have to see what they can do.
And we are on 11.9, patch 11.9 here. This morning, MSI started on the same patch. We got to see some interesting things, especially around the jungle. And the reason, Cole, why I'm bringing up the jungle right now is because we've got MLBD on the side of the Redhawks. We have Fish, our friends, on the side of the Wolves. And both these junglers have been instrumental to the way the team plays. MLBD, a bit of a pioneer, usually right on top of the patch. And considering we haven't seen the Redhawks for 2 weeks, I want to see what they've practiced, what they've pulled out. Is it the Diana, Rumble, Morgana that we're seeing a lot, or the Kindred that we're seeing a lot? Or has he prepared something else special? And for Fisher friends, last week we saw Nunu. That is completely non-meta. And last week we were already in 11.9. Made it work. So are they going to play more standard, or do we see more of that Nunu from Fisher Friends?
Yeah, and in a world where we're used to seeing Morgana jungle, Rumble jungle, Diana jungle, just all the mages in the jungle all of a sudden, Fish Our Friends likes pulling out the Nunu. Very interesting, very bizarre pick, but it was really successful against 8-Bit, and it pulled a ban in a game 4 of the series, so it works. And that's the kind of pick that if you can establish it in a 5-game set, then it can be a huge advantage for your draft strategy going down the line. The issue MLBD on Miami University is a stronger jungler than what Wichita Wolves were up against last week. He's the kind of player who can punish a Nunu pick, who can go aggressive, who can try and get into the jungle and punish that lock-in as best he can. And so maybe Wichita Wolves would want to be a little more hesitant. Maybe they want to go a different angle. We can speculate all we want, but the only thing left to do is get into it. We are drafting. The bans flew off the table. And we are already going to see what Wichita Wolves think is their priority pick here on this patch. And RMC, it's Seraphine. It's still Seraphine. It's just always Seraphine.
The more things change, the more they seem to stay the same here at Coleslaw. And you know what? Like the bans, we should quickly cover them. Galio, Senna, Lilia, a lot of targeted bans here. We should mention that Red Hawk's mid laner Pluto was a support main, so does play a lot of supportive style champions. So Seraphine and Galio both taking away the Nocturne, Tristana, Thresh, mostly just very meta picks here. And Morgana, Varus, that's not necessarily a bot lane. Morgana, huge jungler. These picks are coming way too fast, Coleslaw.
Yeah, I mean, it's Morgana Varus locked in immediately by Miami. Of course, Morgana, one of the strongest junglers in the game. She was already a pocket pick on the fringes of competitive viability. She got buffed way too far. She got nerfed to somewhere between the two things, which leaves her in a very strong state. Varus, strong marksman, AD carry. He can build that lethality build and just do a ton of damage. Wichita Wolves say, okay, well, we're going to lock in Rumble and Jarvan. And I'm a little confused because I would have thought we'd be seeing Rumble jungle, but as far as I'm aware, Jarvan is only a jungler, which makes me think it's going to be Rumble in a lane.
Yeah, most likely. I mean, Rumble is a flex pick, does do great into the mid lane, into the top lane. In fact, it had to be nerfed a little bit because of the, or not say nerfed, but adjusted decreased magic resistance because of how well Rumble was doing in the mid lane here. But right away, we've got that hot pot combo here, Equalizer in the Cataclysm. And I'm not seeing a ton of escapes. Morgana, pardon me, has Black Shield, but no way out of the Cataclysm. Same with the Varus and same with the Set. As long as you don't give Set somebody to taxi him out of there, that hot pot's gonna have a lot of ingredients stuck in it.
I don't think I've ever heard hot pot, but I like it. I immediately knew what you're going for. It just makes sense. You put the pot down, that's the Cataclysm. Drop that Equalizer on top of it, barbecue everyone inside. It's perfect. So I agree with that. I think this is a good way to punish Varus Morgana as a first two picks. These are two immobile champions. They're just going to need to use Flash to escape from that combo. It is the only way they have to get out. Black Shield not doing anything really against either of those two champions. So I think that's going to be a challenge for Miami University, but they do still have some very flexible picks left. Set is a flex pick for them. We've seen it go mid, we've seen it go support, we've seen it go top, so they're going to be able to adjust that as they see fit. It's perfectly fine into Seraphine bot lane. It can be fine into Rumble mid lane as well, so I think that's probably where I'd be considering the Set most likely to go, but if they want a different support, if they want something with a little more peel, they can go that avenue, and that I think would help them with this Rumble and Jarvan.
And that's been a bit of hallmark of the Red Hawks draft here. A lot of times they like to leave flexibility up. So you're never really quite sure what's going where, even sometimes right down to the last pick. And even after they pick the last pick, sometimes I'm still not sure where they're going. I was kind of expecting that they were going to do a flex more pick, and Karma fits that bill perfectly here. Can go top, mid, support as well. And more importantly, now there's a lot of shields on the side of the Red Hawks here. A Dark Shield, the Karma Shield. Set's got his own shield as well here. I'm starting to think that this might be a Serpent's Fang angle for the side of Wichita Wolves.
Yeah, and I think I really like Karma here. I think it's the right pick into what Wichita Wolves have selected. It's a good way to deal with the Rumble damage. If you can't escape from the damage itself, the next best thing you can do is give a big shield to everyone to mitigate it as best as you can. So I really like Karma to that end. And I think Serpent's Fang, though a good item, who on Wichita Wolves wants to buy that is kind of the question you have to ask.
Yeah, they don't have a ton of physical damage right now, and that is definitely an issue. Now, normally we say they need an AD carry, but Grim does play a lot of Seraphine here, and I'm thinking this might be Mabud's top lane pick. There we go. That's who you're going to put the Serpent's Fang on. And I was thinking, who are you going to blind pick? Is it going to be at Darius? We've seen Mabud blind pick it before. You add that into that hot pot. You've got Bruin there. You've got a nice stirrer going. It's a lot of danger, but it's also very risky. Now with the Gnar, that synergizes really well with the Cataclysm, not just in it, but around it as well. That is terrain that gives you that knock-up right now, and it just fits so well into the team fighting. Range, however, might be an issue, and it looks like Red Hawks here, they're just going to pick that Camille last to deal with that Gnar. A nice pickup, a safe pickup, who shouldn't get stuck into the hot pot.
Yeah, and I think, well, we have Hot Pot as Rumble Jarvan. It's Narvan is Nar Jarvan. I don't think there's a Seraphine Jarvan. We could try coining that at some point. Leona, of course, pairing well on top of that. In RMC, what we have here from Wichita Wolves is simply a wombo comp. It is
Yep.
team fight ultimate, team fight ultimate, team fight ultimate, team fight ultimate, and team fight ultimate. And all they want to do is use all of those and just kill Miami University. That really is their composition. It is one of the more simple compositions we've seen. The execution is as straightforward as, hey, why don't we go in? Okay, press all the buttons, and then you go right in. Miami University, on the other hand, I mean, they've got split push with Camille, they've got kiting with Karma, they've got pick with this Morgana Varus. They're doing a lot of different, more complex things here with this composition, which I think is going to make for a very dynamic and imbalanced game.
Because for the side of Wichita Wolves, yes, their composition is simple, and that means that their skill floor is very, very high here. If any of the ultimates land, it doesn't even have to be one of the CC ultimates. If the equalizer lands on multiple targets, it's so easy to follow up here. But likewise, their skill ceiling is also rather low in that they have to find a catch, they have to find multiple members. Red Hawks draft is kind of the opposite here. The skill ceiling is very high. If they play this right, theoretically, they should be able to win because they've got the tools to avoid getting picked off. And you can afford to lose one or two members with this Varus set, Karma, Camille, Morgana composition, and you just don't want to engage them on their terms. You want to be baiting out their ultimates little by little, applying pressure around the map and using that Karma mobility here. So if they play it right, they should win. But it's going to be difficult because the skill floor is very low in this case, in that if they don't execute properly, if any of them get picked, they're going to struggle to fight at these major objectives at the Baron, at the Dragon, even maybe under turret.
Yeah, I mean, you basically said it right. It's about avoiding the worst case scenario if you're Miami. It's the one thing you can't do at any point in this game is start an objective and stay in the pit. That is how you lose this game as the Redhawks. There's no way it could go worse than in that particular situation where you're in a pit, suddenly there's a Seraphine ult flying over one wall, there's a Rumble ult dropping in from Fog of War, a Solar Flare drops down, blinds everyone on your team, an angry little Yordle-type monster jumps and slams you into the wall, and you're just all dead. That's going to be it. You're going to lose the objective, you're going to get aced, and the fight's going to go horribly wrong. But it's not that hard to not do that. All you have to do is set up vision, set up plays, look for picks before these fights can happen, or bait out an ultimate or two. Wichita Wolves want to use all 5 of their ultimates at once. And that means that in skirmishes and fights before these objectives and fights that are kind of more cluttered or disorganized or scattered, if they use 1 ult or 2 ults and they don't get a huge reward because they weren't able to layer everything on top of itself, they're going to be down some key abilities in the bigger team fights, and then suddenly this composition is going to start to fall flat. If you don't have the Cataclysm, or you don't have the Encore, or you don't have the Equalizer, when Miami start up an objective, that can be a problem, and that's, I think, how Miami need to look to capitalize on this draft.
Here now, I have to look at the lanes a little bit, Coleslaw, because when I'm looking across the board here, despite the fact that the Red Hawks have drafted themselves sort of a composition which counters, in essence, what the Wombo wants to do. The lanes are looking a little rough to me here. Nar into Camille topside is a bit of a volatile matchup here, and that was the Camille counterpick into the Nar. So if Mabud, who has been, at least on paper, one of the strongest, if not the strongest top laner, pardon me, in the league so far, doesn't fall behind. That's going to be rough for them. Mid lane as well. Rumble into set. Rumble is going to enjoy that particular matchup. If you want to walk in, I just turn on the flamethrower. I don't need a setup for that. You just burn down. You try and engage me. Harpoon slow you down. I scrap shield. I walk away as well. And the bot lane, Varus Karma. That's a lot of poke. But Seraphine's got the heals, got the shields, and more importantly, the setup for ganks in the bot lane is absolutely brutal. If Jarvan shows up down there, Leona and Jarvan, between the two of them, Seraphine doesn't even really need to pump out that much damage, but she will. And they can find the Varus, they can find the Karma early and pop them. So I feel like Red Hawks have to be very careful how they play the early game here and how they want to maybe shield MLBD, because Morgana is really quick on clears, but she's not the best duelist. And if a Jarvan finds her in the jungle, the extended fights might not go her way.
I'm actually uncertain about that. I was just thinking about that is because the Black Shield can stop the Flag of Drag from getting a knockup, I think if she can land a binding on the Jarvan, there's really no threat to a Morgana. He really needs to hit that combo and get in a few auto attacks to really pose a threat. Morgana has a really solid job of either avoiding that or at least mitigating the effects of it. So I think I'm comfortable with the Morgana being 1v1 by a Jarvan. I think there's very little risk there. I think the concern is if there's priority from Wichita Wolves and the Jarvan invades with a Rumble behind him or with a Gnar behind him or with a Leona behind him, then Morgana needs to start sweating, needs to start being cautious. But on the flip side, even though Wichita Wolves have all of this aggressive proactive play, Miami could kind of say the Uno reverse card where Camille with Morgana is a guaranteed Soul Shackle stun. It's going to work if you time it right. The Camille goes in, Morgana shows up, presses R. You can't escape from the Hextech ultimatum. You're going to get stunned. That's basically a guaranteed kill if the gank is there. The set with that phase breaker can pop his E, get that Rumble yoinked in. Because Rumble's melee, he has to leave himself vulnerable. That's a gank setup that's possible. The Chain of Corruption from the Varus, also a possible gank setup. So I think we're going to see a lot of action coming out of these junglers. And for every play that Fish Our Friends makes, I think if you're Miami, you want to see an equal play coming from MLBD.
And I love the fact, Coleslaw, that you bring up the junglers once again, because we highlighted in the beginning the fact that MLBD has always been one of the biggest threats for the side of the Red Hawk here, and that's definitely not changing here. At least not game one of the grand finals here. When you're on that Morgana, if MLBD lands that binding, everything goes swimmingly. If he doesn't, then a lot of those ganks will have to be aborted. The amount of pressure isn't going to be that great. So I can't wait for us to get onto the Rift here, Coleslaw, where we get to see, will Red Hawks be able to execute? Will they be able to survive this constant AoE, this wombo combo coming out of Wichita Wolves? Or will the Wolves be able to corral the Red Hawks into position where you just get nailed by all five?
Yep. Well, with that said, it's all to be played out on the Rift. We're going to take a quick break while we wait for the rest of Spectator Delay to wind down, and we will be back on Summoner's Rift with Game 1 for you very shortly. Don't go anywhere. Hello, everyone, and welcome here to Game 1 of Miami University Redhawks versus Wichita Wolves Black. This is the Risen Esports Divine League Finals. This is Game 5. This is all the marbles. This is a black screen where you can't see Summoner's Rift. Oh, we're there. We got it. We're good. Love to see it. I mean, my producer left. Just making sure we're good. And we got a level 1 where nothing too important is going to happen. So I think the only thing really worth pointing out here is that we do have a Dark Seal start on Rumble. That's a little unique to this season. It, of course, does provide... No, it just stopped providing mana is what it did, which makes it viable on non-8 or mana champions now.
Exactly, and with a Rumble too, it's pretty likely that you will rack up some kills and assists as well. So just generally a rather efficient item here. And Coleslaw, the last time these two teams met up, Red Hawks handily dispatched the Wolves in a quick 2-0 here. So when I had a chance to speak to the Wolves a little bit, they're coming in for some revenge here. They felt like, the last time it wasn't a fair indicator. Their roster was just in the midst of being shaken up. So this time they're coming to play, and I want to see what they can bring, because a wombo combo, as fun as it is to watch, I don't think that's the extent of the tricks that they have up their sleeves here.
Yeah, and I mean, it's interesting to bring up that last series, right? Because for them, this entire season, a lot of their victories have been just, does Mabud get off the ground? Does Mabud get a lead? Like, if they lock at Darius, does he pentakill the enemy team? If yes, you win the game. And against Miami, they were kind of one of the better teams at shutting him down. Lucent didn't get completely top gapped, didn't end up that far behind. There's enough jungle pressure to keep Mabud in check. And while that was happening, it just kind of looked like the rest of the map for Miami University was a little superior and was able to convert the win. So, the question for Wichita Wolves is, can Mabud get ahead this time? Do they have a different game plan to support him in making it happen? Is this matchup going to be more favorable? Is the jungle pressure going to be different? Is he just going to gap Lucent this time and demonstrate superior top lane skill as he has against so many other top laners in the Divine League? And that's I think, kind of where the winning begins to start for Wichita Wolves.
And with this counter pick on the top side, I don't know if Mabud can quite do it. Instead, I'm looking at elsewhere for the Wichita Wolves. And one of the things that has drawn my eye is this bot lane. The fact that Grim has not picked up any CS till now. Fisher Friends looking for a bit of a cheeky, quick bot lane gank, but that good ward they placed down immediately, recognizing the strength of a Jarvan for early ganks, is going to keep them safe and allow them to continue punishing here.
You actually see them considering an invade there, and LVD on the blue buff gets spotted out with a ward. Snow using the priority to try to go in there. They're not going to follow up on it. They didn't know where Plutex was, so they didn't want to commit too hard onto that blue buff, especially with priority coming in from Cleave. Collapse into that. So spotting out the Morgana, learning that you're down, 9 CS in the jungle at 3.5 minutes, as one does against Morgana jungle. No big deal.
And J4 is definitely not the fastest jungler either. So you definitely don't pick that to match the clear. I think it's good enough that Fisher Friends is able to split the scuttle. We're not going to see both scuttles going the way of the Morgana, which is pretty common here. And I expect to see Fisher Friends continue to look for ganks here while farming up. And because of the way the camps are, MLBD actually stealing away those Raptors here. And now kind of deep in, if they ever spot MLBD, I think MLBD is going to be in a spot of bother here.
Yeah, a Morgana that deep can be rather vulnerable. I think this is riding off of the priority that Cleave and Ibian have been able to generate here in the bot lane. They've got this freeze sitting right in front of the turret, so if there's a collapse, they'll be able to go right along. Speaking of if there's a collapse coming in. MLBD now in trouble. His bot lane is not nearby. Fisher Friends has spotted him out. The Black Shield going to stop the root from Grim, but he's still in trouble. The Zenith Blade going to connect. The Flag and Drag going to go as well. They're donating the kill over to Grim. That's first blood for Wichita Wolves.
I want to point out as well, Coleslaw, in the midst of all of that MLBD simply could not outwalk Fisher Friends. So the Black Shield blocked the CC, great, but the sheer just damage that was coming out and the zero answer from MLBD, unfortunately, because the binding didn't land on a champion. That's what happens for Morgana. If you can get the binding off, great. You're good and you're safe. If your binding doesn't land, you're very vulnerable to follow-up damage here.
Yeah, and I mean, you miss the binding, you have to walk away from your bot lane instead of towards them, and all of a sudden you're just in a bad place. You're donating a kill over to this first pick, Seraphine, and now Grim just sitting pretty. The CS hadn't been super great. They did have a good free setup, but I mean, now the Seraphine's happy. You get a kill, you get yourself some gold, you get yourself really low. You're actually running the risk of dying, having to burn heal and run away as I praise the Seraphine. Caster Curse coming in hot, but it's fine. Everything's okay.
Yeah, and this is how this bot lane kind of goes a little bit. Seraphine not necessarily the strongest of champions in terms of applying pressure. You can get really good lane stuff, which gives you priority though, and they have to keep that in mind. You don't want to fight them right away. Now mid lane, Fisher Friends is hovering, and Snow is trying to bait this out. The wave is pushing out, but I think Pluto smells a rat right now because Snow has been shoving 24/7 before this.
Yeah, and all of a sudden when you're shoving Rumble decides, actually I don't want to last hit 3 or 4 minions. I want this wave to push into me. That will tip off your radar that perhaps there's a jungler in the vicinity. So Plutex picking up on that wisely, not going to go for anything. We're just going to have them. Actually, I think it's already pushing back in. They both get the cannons. No big deal.
Yeah, that's just one of the things with the flamethrower, but it is giving a lot of priority. And now with that prio that you can get from mid and from bot, we've already seen that Grim can just shove that wave very, very easily. I want to see some focus onto this first Drake here, this Ocean Drake, which is going to make your lanes that much stronger to give you sustain in the bot lane where you already have a Seraphine, top side from a Bud who's struggling a little bit. I mean, very, very minor amounts. And this mid lane where you don't have mana and health is really the only resource here. You're keeping a very, very close watch on.
Yeah, with both top laners 6, the teleports can come in. This looks like an attempt at a pick onto Daze. Not going to flash away from the Karma route. Going to get hit up with the Dark Binding. No follow-up, though. Everything's okay.
And Fish are friends top side right now, still looking to clear there. They know that multiple members of Red Hawks is down bot, but they're leaving it top side.
Yep, we have it engaged from a Bud, uses the Gnar to slam Lucent into the wall. This is a 1v1. The Hextech Ultimatum going to come down, but Mabud going to finish it off, going to pick up the solo kill. It was super close, but it was super calculated, living with less than 50 HP, making it happen. Well played, my Bud.
On the other side of the map, though, by the rest of the Red Hawks here, they are going to be able to pick up first Drake. There was a ward in the pit, so for the side of Wolves, they knew it was being done, but they decided to seed it. Mountain Drake coming up next, also not a huge Drake to fight for, but Infernal potentially, or Cloud for the soul.
Yeah, and I think it's interesting that that Drake was able to go down. It was good timing from Miami University. If they were just a little slower to it, Mabud with that solo kill would have been able to recall teleport to the pit and take a second fight as an extra man up in that. But they were able to get it as the solo kill happened. They did have the advantage on that bottom part of the map, and they were able to get themselves that objective and stop any hopes of super fast Drake stacking for the Wichita Wolves, which is a huge deal for Miami University, especially considering the way these kills have been going early.
Yeah, the early game tempo has all been in Wolves' favor here. They're the one who's been able to make moves, and a lot of that is off the fact that MLBD kind of got caught out a little bit there. And now with that Drake in their pocket, they've not regained control of tempo, but they're starting to stabilize here. And I need to see them be the ones to try and, start deciding what it is they want to do. If they're just going to sit in lanes here, then maybe, find some way to exert a little bit of pressure and not constantly be shoved in.
Yeah, I think it's interesting. I want to point out, we saw Snow drop the equalizer on the minion wave to shove it and get a recall. Plutex in response dropped a question mark ping and promptly teleported back to lane. Which makes me think maybe Plutex isn't aware. Well, I'm just saying that, but we have a gank on the top lane. That's actually a perfect flash flag and drag from Fish Our Friends. Going to get a trade of flashes out of Lucent, as well as a whole lot of extra damage onto that Camille. Nothing else resulting from it, but a lot of pressure, putting Mabud in another good spot. And here's some damage going down mid lane. Oh, and there's a fight bot lane too. It's a solo kill for Snow. It's a 2v2 kill for Grim and Daze. Grim gonna have to flash away from Ivan because he's super low. Ivan flashing to secure the kill with the arrows of something or other. I don't know the name of them, but it's a Z. He gets the kill. Now Daze on this Leona, just returning the favor. Just 1v1ing the AD carry. Some Mortal Kombat not gonna work out. Ivan finally gets his cooldowns available, procs those 3 Blight stacks, gets himself a double kill. Started good, ended bad, but there was a solo kill in mid lane, so at the end of the day, it's a 2 for 2.
And I love the fact also that we're just talking about, okay, the equalizer goes down to shovel ways. There's a question mark and Pluto gets back to lane, teleports back in. If Snow knew that, I expect to see, but that's when you question mark ping back. When you get the solo kill without your ult available, that just kind of shows disrespect. And unfortunately, Pluto does not have to teleport this time. Will have to walk back, is losing pressure. But that bot lane fight too, real spicy. And more importantly, it's 2 kills in the pocket of IBN here. That Varus, who can become a huge nuisance in the mid to late game here.
Yep, well, we see the Rift Herald going down to Fish Our Friends, but the rotation from MLBD, Cleve, and Plutex up here to try and contest top lane Herald? I don't know. I don't know what Cleve's doing up here at RMC. Please explain.
Well, the Herald was already down, unfortunately. It was already taken there. And I think they were just trying to punish them for being up there at that point in time. There was not necessarily a need in the bot side, and they didn't have vision on Snow here. So just opportunistic, trying to make something happen. Unfortunately, doesn't pan out. And with no objectives on the map, because Herald's already down, we're likely to see a bit of a reset here from the side of the Red Hawks. And it's really up to the Wolves what they want to do next. They're the ones with Herald in their pocket. They're the one with winning lanes.
Yeah, and I mean, you can start looking at plates. It's Mabud has a couple plates taken down. I think it's actually only one. He's about to get a second. We see 1 plate taken back in the bottom lane, no plates in mid lane. So it really is just Mabud who's getting huge wins in the lane with the pressure onto turrets. Is this plate gonna fall? Yeah, he's just gonna walk up and hit it. It's totally worth doing that. Saying, all right, fine, I'll auto the turret one time, then I'm out of here. No big deal. 160 gold, right into Mabud's pocket. This Gnar getting relatively far ahead of Lucent.
And it's not that Gnar from Mabud right now feels really strong, but it's not the biggest gap on the map. Biggest gap is mid lane. Snow has 2 levels on Pluto right now, and a whole bunch of CES. There's also 2 stacks on the Dark Seal. I know it's nothing to write home about, but you know, every little bit of stacking helps. And considering you picked that up real early, it's just a benefit of that Rumble. We've not even seen the Equalizer used in a team fight yet, so I'm a little scared for the side of Red Hawks.
Yeah, I mean, you can see those Electro Harpoons are doing ridiculous damage to this set. Here comes an engage onto bot lane. The Cataclysm drops down onto 2. The Encore is going through the entire team, going to just get 2 of them. Cleve going to have to flash away. The teleport comes in from Mabud a little late. MLBD going to get a revenge kill onto Fish Our Friends. So it is a 1-for-1 with a teleport invested. You do see that Cleve and MLBD thinking about recalling. Pings onto the dragon. It's not up for another 15 seconds, but Shovels really need to get that to make this play worth it. But with Fish Our Friends down, maybe they're going to be able to. It looks like Mabud actually has to recall, go back to top. So they're not going to have their top laner. Lucent's teleport not going to be available for a little bit either. We might just see a second fight at Dragon, and I'd like to see Snow get involved with this Rumble.
Yeah, this fight at Dragon is going to be kind of iffy here. Most of the ultimates were blown in the bot side, so only the mid laners really have the ultimates up. But I feel like that Equalizer is more impactful than the Showstopper at this point in time. And it looks like they're actually going to have enough damage to be able to burn this down. Cleve coming in, but no backup, and MLBD has already said, no, we let this one go here. We're okay with giving over Mountain.
Well, meanwhile, Mabud is just flashing at Lucent, trying to go for the solo kill. He's going to get it. That is knowing your limits. He just walks up and auto-attacks that Camille until she's dead. Another kill going down in top lane. Now here's a gank onto mid lane. The Showstopper going to get out of the Jarvan combo, but it is not going to get you away from the Rumble. That means that Plutek's going to go down as well. Mabud tries to engage onto MLBD. An excellent Black Shield going to stop him from taking the stun from the Gnar. Doesn't stop the damage. The Morgana knocked down to half health. And that's just another couple kills.
Yeah, and mid lane turret, first brick as well there. They've already shredded it down. Shelly gonna be able to finish the rest off, and Wichita Wolves have just suddenly accelerated beyond belief here. It was only about 1,500 gold gap. We're now looking at about a 3,000+ gold lead. And it's onto the carries. It's onto that Rumble. It's onto that Gnar, the damage threats for their team. Bot lane, Grim and Daze right now, they don't need kills. They just kind of need to go even. And to have your carries be ahead, that's the key point. You can't fight them anymore in team fights for the side of Red Hawks, and they need to start playing their rotations a little cleaner here.
Yeah, and this is a Gnar that's built Trinity Force, by the way, RMC. So he is built for the split push. Here's a play. Hextech Ultimatum going to go down. MLB shows up. Doesn't even get anything. Lucent just kills Mabud. Just needed the confidence boost from the Morgana being nearby, I guess. Gonna get some revenge. Gonna get a kill back.
Oh, and Fisher Friends has to be a little bit careful here. The wave is pushing in, and he's not super tanky. Well, yeah, that's probably the safe call there. You surrender the turret. You've already gotten first break. You can afford to give this one up. And bot side?
Yeah, we have re-engage. We have the Chains of Corruption coming in from Ibian. They're turning it back around onto Cleve. This Karma is going to fall down to Grim. Here's the Equalizer. Ibian going to need to cleanse and flash away. He's getting very low. Daze hanging up the turret. There's no follow-up damage. In fact, the heal's going to have to be burned. Daze alive, so went from good to a little less good. It is still a 2v2 kill. They do still pick up Cleve for the side of Wichita Wolves.
Yeah, and we caught a little bit of a flash of Pluto just jogging by. The teleport was blown into the bot lane there, but couldn't quite follow up. So again, advantage to the side of Wichita Wolves as they speed this up. And now with that mid lane turret down, I do want to see Snow being rotated out to the side lanes a little bit more, because this Seraphine Leona bot side, it's just sort of a nullifying lane for the most part here. You're not going to be able to beat that Varus Karma. Whereas if you put a Rumble there, then there actually is kind of kill pressure. So they need to start utilizing their lane assignments a little bit better here.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting that we kind of have two supports in bot lane, right? This is Moonstone Seraphine. It's not Ludens, it's not Leandries, it's not Everfrost or anything. This is a Seraphine building full support items just on farming income. So the Seraphine is here to buff up that Trinity Force Gnar. It's a Gore Drinker Jarvan. It's a Night Harvester Rumble. All three of these champions on the top side of the map are building to do damage and cause problems in fights. And Grim and Daze are just here to say, all right, well, we'll make sure you stay alive. You can do as much damage as possible. And I think they've been working it out really well. I think the concern that I have for Wichita Wolves, or the benefit that Miami has, is that we did see Lucent get that solo kill top lane. We did see them show that the Camille, even though got a little behind early, lost some plates, got camped a little bit, totally okay. Can still kill the Gnar, can still make things happen, and you want to start playing around that. You see MLBD going for it with a flank back here. The Hextech ultimatum gonna drop again. Mabud going to go down.
Nice and easy, clean as you please. But bot side, they're answering.
Yeah, and that's a dead Varus RMC. There's a lot of things you can do in League of Legends, and one of them is simply get killed. And here actually is a revenge. It's fighting all over the place. Snow finding MLBD, probably going to find Lucent too. Maybe the Cloud Drake movement speed going to keep Lucent alive. It's going to be a flash from Snow 2 to make sure that the skill goes down. So they get the one kill on the Mabud, and then Wichita Wolves clap right back, pick up IBN, pick up Lucent and MLBD, and they're going to be able to pick up this bot turret too.
It takes 2 to take down 1 right now for the side of Redhawks. They're not winning out the trades, and they're being answered by the Wolves. The Wolves are not just sitting back and letting the game happen to them. So it's not good news for the Redhawks. What they need to do, the Redhawks that is, at this point, is kind of they've correctly identified Mabud as a potential point to break. But they do also need to not give up pressure everywhere else on the map. If they're making a play top, they need to back off bot lane a little bit here. And they also need to start actively looking for picks. I talked about the rotations from Wichita Wolves to hide their weaker lanes here, but for the side of Redhawks, they need to rotate to try and catch people in rotation. The moment the Wolves group up, the Redhawks just don't have anything to answer here. And now Herald, MLBD can't do it. Dragon, they can't contest it. And I thought sieging would be a weakness because they don't really have the range on the side of the Wolves, but with this much strength, I'm not even sure if they group up that it's going to be safe for you to defend a turret when they can just press R and dive you.
Yeah, I was about to say, I don't think Wichita Wolves are too interested in sieging. I think they're more interested in saying, oh, you dared stand on the same screen as us? We'll simply kill you. And then they go in and they simply kill you. So that is a risk here. They do get the dragon for themselves. It looks like Herald might be in the cards. MLBD still kind of hovering around there. It looks like he wants it. You know, you can see him on this Morgana walking around, keeping the wards up, just being a little sad. You know, it's the life of a jungler when there's an objective and you want your team to help you contest, and it's just, can't do it, man. No Herald for you.
And for Wolves there, they can take the Herald whenever they want to. In fact, they should be watching the time. We've only got about a minute and a half before Baron spawns here. And Herald actually despawns a little bit before that. So if they do want to take it, they need to take it soon. If not, they need to at least establish vision around the Baron right now, because it's very, very red, as we can see. And that is potentially a place that the Redhawks can look to make a pick at here. They group up, they set up a death bush, and maybe they can start to claw their way back into the game a little bit.
Yeah, you can see they do have 4 people sitting here in this river. They have swept out the vision. They are going a little deeper, so they're looking for something. That something might be Grim, as here comes Plutex, here comes Lucent, here goes the showstopper, and Seraphine is very extra dead. Goodbye.
I just had this image of, you know, Popstar getting mobbed by her rabid fans, right?
Yeah, that's about right. Hello, give us an autograph.
Yeah, and I love the fact that it's a set too. Pluto, who kind of, or not initiated, but just grabbed it. Literally a showstopper right there to kidnap the Popstar. And Grim, you should just never be on their own at this point. Snow and Grim need to be bodyguarded, because if you just give a bodyguard, then it's hard to kill. But they're very squishy on their own. Yes, Snow is very far ahead, 4-0 on this Rumble, but you can't stop a 4-man, 5-man goon squad.
Yeah, I mean, a lone Seraphine getting goon squatted like that is just, I mean, that's kind of comical even. It's like, you see 3 people coming in from behind your turret, you just kind of on comms to your team say, hey guys, I'm dead. It's about all you got. They burned settled.
I mean, to be fair, he had vision, right? Like, you could see all your wards going down. And if this was a horror movie, that's kind of cute, you know, like the corridor lights are going off one by one by one. Run and don't look back. Grim did not do that, did pay the price. Now, Baron is up on the table right now, and that's why we're starting to see a bit more vision coming down, reestablishing that ward line. They probably don't feel super comfortable. They don't really have the sustained damage to quickly burn it down. So Wolves are looking to possibly kill 1 or 2 more members before they start that up. Dragon, though, coming up in 2.5 minutes. Cloud Drake doesn't feel great, but I actually really like it for the Wolves, because they are so based around their ultimates here that the more cooldown they have, the more ability haste they have, the more they can pull that trigger. And I'm starting to think if they get 3, they force a fight, burn all the ultimates, and they force a Nyx one right away, or they go for a major objective, and Red Hawks can't contest if they don't have their ultimates available.
And I think one of my favorite things about 3 Cloud Drakes, it's probably not going to be relevant in this game, but I'm going to say it anyway just because it's so funny, is if you get enough CDR on Gnar, he can ult twice while enraged. he can just ult and then ult again. And that's one of those plays where if it ever happens to you, you can't expect that. No one can expect that. Who is ready for Gnar to just ult twice while he's big? No one. So if it happens, it can win a game. I don't think it will, but just keep it on your radar. We have something to root forward to as the Mabud double ult. I'm rooting for it. I'm on it.
He goes, I actually think it's potentially possible here. The Wolves are having problems pushing. We can see right now that all the turrets they've been taking pretty much have been the outer turrets off just, the better laning, and they're struggling into the inner turrets. They can't actually get in there, can't siege it up effectively here. So they will probably need Baron to take it. And right now, until they're confident, dragon stacking, is a win con and one way that they can try and force Red Hawks to the table here. In fact, I'd be surprised to see Elder potentially, because Red Hawks can just keep saying, nope, I'm not going to dance with you guys.
Yeah, I mean, this is going to be a slow game, unless it isn't, but it should be a slow game. It's with these comps that have hard engage and wombo. It's at any point in time, they can simply get the 5-for-0 ace. Here comes an engage from a Bud onto MLBD. The Black Shield once again going to deny the Gnar CC, but look at the damage. I mean, you can stop the CC, you're still dead. MLBD going right down to fish our friends. Now Daze is here onto Lucen. Lucen going to try and flash away, but he is the next target. The Zenith Blade, the stun going to connect. Flag and Drag going to hit this Camille. It looks like they want more. The Equalizer is going to drop. Lucen fleeing for the hills. A teleport in for Fludex to try to save the day. The Encore going through snow, but it is MUOH running for the hills. They cannot contest this. They cannot fight. They've lost 3. They're going to lose their turret, and they're going to lose this Cloud Drake.
Please take this turret, guys. Okay. I was a little scared they were just going to ignore it. And Dragon, your issue right now is taking turrets. So please take the turrets whenever you can. They are going to secure themselves the 3rd Drake again. And now they are at Soul Point. And granted, we already spoke about the fact, Cloud Soul, not the scariest thing, but still very, very nice to happen. More importantly, you clear that out for the Elder Drake, one of your potential win cons here. Vision has lapsed around Baron. And I think both teams need to reestablish that vision ASAP right now. For the Wolves to lose Baron at this point would be giving the Red Hawks an avenue back into the game. And the opposite is true. Red Hawks, if you lose this Baron, you lose your base.
Yeah, I think this is starting to get a little more dire. We just saw what happened. They went for a slightly proactive play. MLBD and Lucen trying to run back the play that killed Mabud once or twice, saying maybe this time there won't be a rumble here to punish us for being aggressive. And this time there was a rumble there that punished them for being aggressive, and they also didn't even get the kill onto the Gnar. So the play that once was a free kill, then turned into a kill but trade, turned into simply death. And I think if you're Miami University, now you got to be thinking, what can we try? What can we do? We got to do something different, because sending the Morgana to try to collapse onto the Gnar, it's just not working anymore.
Okay, Shirelia's popped to get them out of danger here, but this is actually what the Red Hawks want to be able to do. This is their sort of final form here, the split push, right? Lucen strong enough right now to be able to match Mabud, if maybe not win the 1v1. Are they going to get caught out here?
Yeah, we see Mabud going in. The Hextech Ultimatum going to come down. Lucen's still going to get stunned up against the wall. The Encore going to make sure that he cannot do anything. He's going to try and go for Grim. You're going to flash away to keep himself safe. He actually is going to go down. Lucen gets the outplay, gets the kill, now running away. Not sure he's going to be able to get away from Mabud. The Triforce proc enough damage on the auto attack. So it is a trade of kills, but it's a lot of time burn in a trade of 1-for-1. So well played by Lucen.
I mean, normally top for support or top for ADC, I guess. Well, we're going to call it a support. Top for support is not a good trade here. But for the side of Red Hawks, you take those at this point, and you do get the kill onto Lucen. Lucen will continue to scale up. And as you said, you're just buying time. You need to continuously apply the side lane pressure. That's the only real way that this comp is going to be able to match up against the Wolves. Unfortunately, Pluto wasn't quite able to shove that top side. It didn't manage to get the turret, but it's real low here. And if the next time Lucen's back up with that TP, they can look to just rush that top side as quickly as you please there, take down that inner turret, and open up more of the map to try and give yourself more space to set up an ambush.
Yeah, and I think it's something there, right, is that Lucent can show up in a 1v2 and get a kill and come very close to getting out. That is kind of the Camille factor in any given game, is she is only going to get stronger. She will just start doing 1,500 damage, true damage on her second Q proc, and it's just going to one-shot anyone squishy, and it's going to shred through tanks like they're nothing. And that I think is a win con for Miami University, and it's good that you can see it making things happen. I think if you're Lucent, you're okay with accelerating the game and trading kills if it means getting some more gold in your own pocket. And so that's, I think, what they're working towards here. And if the Camille is creating pressure and pulling multiple members, then it can open up opportunities in other lanes. It can let Plutex kind of go for things, go for cracking open turrets of his own. And that, I think, is an avenue for them. So it's not over. There's hope. There's a chance.
And if we touch on the items here, Kozlov, a little bit, IBN has completed 2 major items. This is a bit of a power spike for that on-hit Varus here. You have the Runan's Hurricane, you have the Kraken Slayer, so you do shred here. The issue is letting Varus get the chance to free fire, because up to this point so far, you can see that there's been a bit of a tunnel vision on trying to kill the squishy, so IBN has constantly been forced to run or just flat out die. I'm keeping an eye on that flash, because once I think that flash is up, that's when maybe we see Red Hawks try to make a play that doesn't just revolve around Lucent. Maybe a chain of corruption comes out, catches a single target, they burst them down. But without that flash, it's really difficult for IBN to safely look for those initiates here.
Yeah, and you need that DPS to get through someone like Sterix, Gore Drinker, Jarvan, who's just going to have a massive shield and way too much healing for anyone. And I don't think anyone else is particularly great at it. Lucent can probably get through Fish Are Friends. It's just, if your Camille is spending an entire team fight hitting the enemy's frontline Jarvan, you've lost that team fight. So, I think you're right. I think it really is. I mean, IBN in team fights is there. Like, the Varus damage is online. The items are coming in. It's just, can that Varus do the damage? And Miami University going to pick out this bushwhack? Are they going to be able to get away? You see Fish Friends going in, going to get bound up. Is there going to be a return kill? The Chain of Corruption going to follow up onto the binding. Fish Our Friends dropping the Zanyas, going to try to stay alive. I said Zanyas, it's a stopwatch. Equalizer comes out, no one sits on top of it. Ultimate burn, stopwatch burned. Good trade for Miami University. MLBD has to flash. Suddenly not a great trade.
And so we see the Chain of Corruptions traded for the Equalizer there. But here is where those Cloud Drakes come in real handy, Kozlov, because that Equalizer is going to be up. And Wolves are not going to contest this Drake, interestingly enough. It is the soul point here. And if you're not going to contest it, then I want to see them start up the Baron. Force that trade instead.
Yeah, it looks like they're going to be trying to start the Baron. They do have a pink ward in the pit. This is not the fastest Baron in the world for them, but it doesn't look too much like Miami University are interested in contesting. Cleve kind of going to poke his face in. You see IBN and MLBD booking it across the river. The teleport channeling in. The Baron getting low. This is going to be dicey. The call looks to be to run away. There's a teleport. They're divided. They don't know what to do. Someone's got to make a decision. Go in, go out, stop something. Equalizer drops down onto 3. Now it's Miami University that has to run away. Lucent has to dash away over the wall. The Encore is going to go through Plutus and Ivan. The Cleanse is going to keep him alive. The focus turns to MLBD, who drops the Soul Shackles and the Zanyas to keep himself alive. But he is going to fall. It is not enough. The health bars are low. The blood blowing flashes as he chases down what remains of Miami University. And it looks like Wichita Wolves just going to turn right back onto this Baron.
After dithering, when they finally made the call to turn, it was swift, Kozlov. And they killed MLBD, no smite. That is 100% their Baron to take. There's no one really who has the burst to contest it. And once they get this is the true test for Red Hawks. If the Wolves crack your base, the game's kind of over at that point here, because they can just force fights inside your base. And with that, the sheer amount of AoE engage we've seen, the Red Hawks have not been able to dodge out. They've not been able to bait it out like we said, they theoretically are looking to do. So I don't trust that in their own base, without a turret to protect the entrance there, that they have any hope of contesting.
Yeah, I mean, they don't have a hope of saving against a dive if the dive comes off with a clean engage. The split push just not really going to work against a team with Baron, because you just get counter pushed faster. And it's, if you'd say, okay, well, we'll base race, it's the team with Baron wins the base race really, really, really hard. So, yeah, RMC, it's looking a little sketchy for Miami University. It's looking great for Wichita Wolves, though. I mean, if you're a Wichita Wolves fan, let's go. This is exciting.
Knew that the Wolves were prepping, right? Like they've already want their revenge here. So I didn't expect this old school sort of wombo combo draft, but you can't argue with what's worked. It is something that survived almost every single meta, and well, at least in the lower elos here. And if you take a low elo strat and give it to really good mechanical players, I guess apparently that works too.
Yeah, and I mean, I think part of it just comes down to the way these lanes went as well. This is a bit of a win lane win game kind of game where Snow just clapped Plutex in lane, just had way more CS, way more pressure. But Bud got a couple solo kills and kind of did the same, only starting to die once MLBD showed up, and even then wasn't really enough to put Mabud behind. And so with a winning mid, with a winning top, with a bot lane that was designed not necessarily to win, but to scale and be strong later, I think this is kind of a game plan executed perfectly by Wichita Wolves. They won the lanes they wanted to win. They stalled the lanes they wanted to stall. Now they're online. They have this mid-late game Seraphine sitting on Moonstone Staff. You have a Leona who's just built Locket Thornmail and is ludicrously tanky. And your Jarvan, I mean, is out farming a Morgana jungle, which is insane. And with all of that, you know, you're going to start winning some fights. You're going to start getting some objectives. You're going to crack the base.
That's already the base cracked a little bit here. Top lanes are running up no TP.
Well, it's an engage onto Daze. This is the tanky Leona. They burn 2 ultimates on this. The Encore goes through Flex and Ivian. You see Fish Our Friends going back in. The Gore Drinker heal is enough to keep him alive. He's eventually going to fall. Lucid's going to get a second kill, but it's returned right back. It's a 2 for 2. But Bud flashing in onto Ivian. He sees blood. He's going to go for it. Now he's chasing down Cleave, making sure this Karma has to flash away while underneath their own next turrets. That's going to be a one fight for Wichita Wolves. They're going to get the inhibitor. They may look to try and get it one Nexus turret with the equalizer available. That should be a little easier. I think after that, they might need to back out, or can they end the game? It is just Cleave and MLBD. The minions are going low, but the turrets are going lower. The turrets are gone. It's just the Morgana Karma. This is 2 supports versus a very scary Gnar. It doesn't look like they have it in them. Snow chasing MLBD away, pushing him out of his base and killing him anyway. And Wichita Wolves going to strike first.
Well, that's not how we expected the game to go. We looked at the jungle a lot, but it really wasn't MLBD. It wasn't Fisher Friends. We were looking at Mabud to be the standout player. Instead, it was Snow. 8-0-1 on this Rumble. And I checked the cooldown at the end of the game with all those Cloud Drakes there. It was 37.26 seconds cooldown, which is effectively every wave equalizer comes out, and you can use it to clear the wave. You can use it to even poke at that rate.
Yeah, I mean, it's just the power of this champion with some CDR and with some Cloud Drake stacking. They didn't even need to get to the soul for that to happen. And you saw it doing so much damage. You saw Snow putting in so much work, doing so much poke, pressure, zoning, just powering these pushes. Who needs range champions? Well, you can just drop a carpet of barbecue underneath your opponents and force them to run away.
Yeah, I don't know, man. I'm just looking at the damage charts right now. Snow did about 21,000 damage on this Rumble. And just in comparison, on the other side of the map there, Pluto did only about 4,000. And IBN, about 10, just shy of 11,000 here. So Snow out-damaged almost everybody, almost doubled everybody else's damage except for Lucent on the side of Red Hawks.
Yeah, I mean, the Rumble pick just worked, right? Like, there's really no other way to go about it. They saw the Morgana Varus and they said, well, you know, you've given us Rumble, we'll take it. And they're not putting it jungle. They don't need to do what the pro teams are doing. They're just going to slap that thing mid lane, and they're going to use it to punish this melee champion in set. And it worked out perfectly. I think it really shows that Wichita Wolves have an ability to use this power pick in a powerful way. It's going to force Miami University to adapt, to change things up, to try and find a different way to go about this, because that was a dominant game one. It really wasn't ever outside their control. They took the driver's seat, and they steered that game right towards a victory, going up 1-0 in this best-of-5 series.
That's game 1 into the books here, Cole. So it is a best of 5. There are at least 2 more games that Wolves need to win, and potentially 3 for the Red Hawks to try and bounce back here, find something. And knowing what I know of their coach and their mid laner here, Cubby, Lauren, and Dylan in the jungle, like MLBD, they're not going to just sit back and let this happen a second time. They're going to change up their draft. They're going to have an answer, and I can't wait to see what their answer is going to be here.
Not set mid. That said, we're gonna have to cut it to a break. We will be back to see exactly what that answer is from them at game 2. We should be back shortly in just a couple minutes. See you then. Hello, everyone, and welcome back here to the Risen Esports Divine League Finals. We are back in draft. The bans are flying off the table faster than I can even process the fact that they're flying off the table. I didn't even know it was possible to select bans this quickly. These mouse mechanics must be ridiculous because we already have Galio Senna Lilia banned up by Wichita Wolves, Nocturne Tristana and Rumble this time banned up by Miami University, taking that pick right off the table. No more Rumble anymore. Seraphine still the first pick lock-in. RMC, I forgot to even say hello to our viewers. You're going to say hi to them for me.
For sure. Welcome everybody back to the second game in this best of 5. Wichita Wolves dominating game 1 here. And for game 2, the teams have opted to stay on the same sides. Same draft so far here, same bans with the one exception, Thresh being replaced by Rumble. And for good reason, because Snow's Rumble was absolutely disgusting to behold.
Yep, and it looks like they don't want to give over the Thresh at all costs because they are going to lock it in for themselves. So they get rid of the ban, they take it as a pick instead. And I mean, it's hard to disagree with banning the Rumble because I agree with you. Snow's Rumble, really good, really clean, did a lot of damage, made that game happen. So it's going to have to be a different win condition this game from Wichita Wolves. Going to have to work a slightly different way. They're going to have to do it into a Thresh and a Morgana once again.
Morgana jungle, not even going to try and hide the flex. Really no need to. And I like the Thresh pickup first for the side of Red Hawks as well, because it pairs with pretty much any of the current meta ADCs here, whether it be the Jinx, the Senna, oh, that was banned, or the Tristana, Aphelios, Varus, all of them benefit from just having that safety from that pick potential. And for the Wolves, this Seraphine is a flex pick here. It could go to Grim, that we saw last game. It can go to Daze, or it can even go to Snow in the mid lane. Whoa, Xin early pick here. I'm not sure I'm completely on board with this one here. Xin, from what I've seen, works great as a niche counter pick, but as a well, actually, it's into Morgana. I'm an idiot. Sorry. So, yes, that is a counter pick works because Xin works into Morgana, into Diana here. It's very punishing, but it is vulnerable. So if you pick strong lanes to back up that Morgana there, you can bait the Xin and just kill him repeatedly.
Yeah, it's the classic issue with Xin Zhao is he's very, very good at going in, and then he doesn't get out. So, he's good into Morgana because it's the similar issue of if she misses the binding, whereas against Jarvan, if she misses the binding, it's awkward. Against Xin Zhao, if she misses the binding, she's dead.
Yeah, you just gap close and you just kind of whack away their Black Shield is only just going to stop the knock-up, really, not the damage. Now, Jinx being picked up for Red Hawk, so no ADC yet for the side of the Wolves, and that's why we're seeing that Varus ban come through. In addition to that Tristan and Senna, Jinx taken off the table, that means priorities kind of falling down to where we at. Maybe Kog'Maw, maybe Aphelios, that level of picks here, the B+, A- tier.
What's the Ashe build that's going on around right now? Oh, man. I forgot. There's some Ashe build on this patch that, like, is just ridiculous. I think it's got a Black Cleaver in it, or like a Blade of the Ruin King. I don't know. The items don't quite make sense, but it's evidently pretty good, so.
Anything, dude. Like, AP Ashe was a thing for a while there as well. So, you know what? Like, if it is an Ashe, I'd actually kind of like to see it. I don't think it's necessarily a bad pick, actually, with what they've already picked up here. But they're indexing very heavily into physical. The set ban coming through for Wolves, and it looks like there was a misban. We are getting news. It's a Nautilus ban coming out from the Red Hawks.
Yeah, a last minute. Actually, we didn't want to ban Orianna. We wanted to ban Nautilus, so no big deal. Karma ban going down as well. I kind of liked that Wichita Wolves. They were against this set. They were against this Karma. Neither pick was incredible in that game 1, but they realized the strength of the picks regardless. They're not disrespecting their opponents by saying you can pick that again. They're saying you've shown that you like to pick this. You've shown that it has some utility. We're going to get these off the table. And set going to be a little less easy to counter with Rumble gone. That really was kind of the perfect storm of, well, I can just push you in and cook you in the process. And with that not available, countering set mid just a little more difficult.
Now the Shen picked up here, and that's why we saw the Karma ban, because for the side of Red Hawks, with that hyper carry, with the Thresh Morgana, you've already got double support. It looks like they're indexing a little bit towards that hyper carry Jinx composition, to Jugger Jinx, if you will. And getting shields is huge. Now, Lulu is potentially still on the table, can actually go mid quite comfortably here. It does perfectly fine into an Orianna, or maybe a bit more engaged, because right now the Red Hawks, you've got a great comp to fight to let others fight into you, but you don't exactly have to initiate here coming out. You're looking at a lot of pick potential from the hook, from the Dark Binding, but not something to kick something big off.
What do you mean, man? You just put Shen ult on the Morgana, and then Morgana presses Flash R, and it's fine. That's engage. You don't need anything more than that. No, I agree with you, and that's I think what I'd like to see. I think you'd want to have a secondary carry as well. You want to see something in mid lane that can actually do damage in case Jinx goes down or gets zoned out, or just is on the wrong side of the map. You know, if you're Morgana and Shen and Thresh are all contesting a Herald and Jinx has to farm bot lane, then you're kind of sad because you just have zero damage. So you need someone that can go in, someone that can do some damage. Irelia doesn't quite fit the bill of being able to engage, but nor does Lucian.
Yeah.
Huh.
Yeah, really a bit more. I think
Yeah,
also,
I agree.
that was your engage there. It does great into the Orianna, so you would have yourself a great winning lane mid as well. And it gives you the ability to threaten the back line, the gangplank of Wichita Wolves, I guess, because I guess Gangplank's going to walk up, so that's fine too. But now they're very, very physically inclined for the side of Red Hawks here. There's not a ton of magic threat. Yes, you've got the Morgana, and yes, in the jungle, Morgana will get more gold, will be able to pump up more damage there. So it is something to keep in the back of their minds. But still, armor going to hard counter you for a large part. And Wichita Wolves, once again, Grim on the Seraphine here. This is not the Grim we've usually seen in past weeks. Yes, Grim does play the Seraphine, but Grim is a huge carry threat in and of himself. Putting him on Seraphine duty, I feel like mixed feelings about how that one's going so far.
I mean, hey, Seraphine, kind of just a stupid champion that's really good at doing a lot of different things. Getting her farm, kind of good. Having a good player on Seraphine, kind of good. I'm behind it. I'm on board with it. Worked out in game one. We'll have to see how it goes here. I think this draft composition is a little less simple to execute for Wichita Wolves, but I think that puts a little more pressure onto the Seraphine to keep it together, to be the glue that makes it work, because Xin Zhao and Gangplank and Orianna, you know, all three of these champions actually kind of have different identities. Xin Zhao wants to go hard in. Orianna, I guess, can shockwave on top of him. Gangplank wants to fish for barrels and poke and get ultimates to cut the opponents off. So there's a bit of a disjointed idea of how a team fight should work. And, you know, with Seraphine, you kind of have the idea of, well, it doesn't really matter. We'll just kite back, heal up a little bit, and then go back in.
Before I touch on the Wichita's a little bit more mixed identity, I feel like we have to talk about the Red Hawks because Wolves have drafted to counter the Red Hawks more than for their own identity. And for the Red Hawks here, it's the hyper carry Jinx composition coming out, potentially with the Lucian here, like you said, the backup damage. And it's kind of strong lane. So the Jinx Thresh bot lane into the Seraphine Alistar bot lane is good because you're just looking to skill. It's a handshake lane, unlike last game where the Varus kind of wanted to get a bit more pressure. Mid lane, you've got priority with that Lucian here. So Morgana should be a little bit safer. And they're just going to look to potentially skill up and force the damage out. My issue is, again, lack of engage. For the Wolves here, yes, their comp, Gangplank, Xin they don't want to do the same thing. Gangplank wants to sit back, wants to poke, maybe play a bit more macro. Xin wants to go in. Well, can only ever really go in here. And I think that's where the Orianna comes in real handy for the Xin. It gives you that shield. It gives you the follow-up damage to Shockwave as well. And more importantly, it denies it away from the side of Red Hawks here, because you add that Orianna on top instead of the Lucian, for example, and suddenly that Jinx gets shields upon shields upon shields. You've got a bit more magical damage as well to pump out, and their comp becomes a lot more deadly. The Wolves, the Gangplank pick, great as well, because now you poke. Now you force them to engage because they can't match the poke that your Gangplank is putting out. If Morgana's checking out bindings, hits Xin he'll be fine. Alistar, no sweat. Gangplank, pop an orange. You're good for all your melees there, and you can't just sit back and get poked down. You have to pick a fight, and without proper engage, you run into an Alistar, you run into a Seraphine. That's exactly what the Wolves want.
Yeah, I think my concern on top of even all of that is just that there isn't actually an enchanter on the side of Miami University. They have a lot of shields. They have a black shield, they have a lantern shield, they have the Stand United. This Thresh can probably build a locket. So the actual raw shield will be present. But there's no one building Ardent Sensor. There's no one building Staff of Flowing Water. There's no whimsy to give movement speed or healing or anything along those lines that will make this Jinx or Lucian stronger inherently. They'll be harder to kill, but they're not being buffed. And I think that's kind of a little lackluster into someone like Xin Zhao, into someone like Alistar, into even a Gangplank. These champions are going to be able to buy Ninja Tab Eyes this game. They don't really need the Merc Treads. Maybe Xin Zhao has to just because of the jungle matchup, but it's going to leave the Jinx and Lucian lacking for damage at a lot of stages in the game unless they can get really far ahead.
Fair. And I mean, I'm not quite sure whose burden it is to execute now, because what you said is completely true, of course, that the Red Hawks, they do have to be careful of all of that here. But at the same time, Wichita Wolves might not just want to let them scale up, and
Yeah.
it's going to be on the Wolves also to make the early plays. I guess what I'm trying to say is let's watch the early game and see how it goes, because I have faith in MLBD that he's a very, very good player, and I'm looking for early action again from MLBD, and I think they've got the lanes to back it up this time. So
Yeah, I
if
agree
he
with that.
whichever
This is one of
whichever
those.
team gets ahead, I think that's the team that's gonna, just stay ahead, basically. Get ahead, stay ahead.
Yeah, win lane, win game. It's really that simple. It's all you need to do in League of Legends is win your lane, and then you win the game. We've all heard it before. Probably going to apply to this game unless there's some amazing comeback. I'd say there's more comeback potential for Wichita Wolves, which is why I think I like their draft a little bit better. They do have that, oh, you're sieging against us, we'll combo you. And that's a threat. But even then, if you get too far behind, the Jinx and Lucian with all these shields just going to run you over. We're going to have to see how it plays out on the Rift. We will cut to a quick break while we wait for the rest of Spectator to lay to wind down, and we will be back in just a couple minutes here with Game 2. Hello, everyone. Welcome back here to Summoner's Rift for Game 2 of the Risen Esports Divine League Finals. Wichita Wolves versus Miami University of Ohio Redhawks. That is a mouthful. I'm going to try and get it right one time when I'm talking quickly. Just not this time. We'll get there. We have a cheeky level 1. Grim going to spot it out. Going to have to run for the hills. No danger present. Everything's fine. IBN remembered to buy items this game. That's pretty helpful. Love seeing that. Other than that, I think we're going to see these teams starting to fan out. One board on the red buff. No big deal.
We were kind of informed that apparently IBN didn't buy items last game, so that might explain a lot about what happened in lane. This time with the Duran's Blade should have much better sustain. Now, the ward coming out early from the Wolves here. I like it because we already spoke about the fact that Sinsao can be a hard counter for this Morgana, especially if you're looking to invade, if you're looking to duel here. And in order to find that Morgana, you've got to know where she is, and that vision is going to help them be able to track where MLBD is very, very well in the early game.
Yeah, and I think it's one of those things where you might not necessarily want to invade a Morgana at level 3 because that's how you get collapsed on and die. But what you do consider doing is intentionally finding what Scuttle Crab she's going to go for and either fight her off of it, bully her off of it, take a trade to contest it, and see if you can put that Morgana a little behind on health, a little behind on pressure, force her up into a different part of the map, maybe waste some time walking to the other crab, that kind of thing.
Sorry, Coleslaw, did we not watch last week's games where Fisher Friends was on Nunu or game 1 on the J4? Fisher Friends has no fear.
It's a good point. It's a very good point.
But forget what's optimal here. It's about what's establishing dominance. I don't know. I'm hoping Fisher Friends goes for early invades, but for now at least, it looks like they're just kind of, just clearing their own side. Fisher Friends once again starting top side, looking to potentially go bot side here. And this time, I don't think the ward will catch them out, and there is no defensive ward from IBN or Clean.
Yeah, I think the gank could happen. It's not the best gank. The CC is kind of delayed, right? You got to get 3 auto attacks off to get the knock up in the first place, which means that it's really just not going to happen against a Thresh. He's going to flay you away, and then you're just going to be sad because you can't auto attack anymore after that. So I'd be surprised. That's what I have to say. But you never know. I mean, you're right. Fish Our Friends is kind of all about asserting dominance. You going for the gank anyway. Do we want to talk about how this Gangplank is already up 8 CS and Lucian's at half health?
Honestly, that's how it do be. I mean, Gangplank is a very, very comfortable matchup for the GP. And we have to remember, too, that the Shen was picked after the Gangplank. So this is obviously Red Hawk's decision here. Ooh, the wave shoved out here. So Fisher Friends actually, the prize factor will be sufficient.
Yep, we do see the early gank coming into bot lane yet again. The Lantern, though, going to be perfectly fine. What about as well as I would have expected it to go for Fish Our Friends, which is to say, you kind of walk in and go, oh, okay, well, I tried.
Oh, round 2 on the scuttle, but MLBD up an entire level right now because Fisher Friends did go fishing in that bot lane. So we'll lose that scuttle, and now Fisher Friends has to make a beeline to that top scuttle. MLBD has the inside track, though, and that's not a race I think you're going to win. And if MLBD gets there first, Fisher Friends going to fall further behind here in that experience race.
Yep, and they see the ward on the Raptors, so they know that Fish Our Friends is not going to go for it. This will be a double scuttle. This is the dream start for Miami University. This is what you want to see. You want to get that jungle going. You want to get that Morgana ahead of the Xin Zhao by virtue of not actually fighting, just clearing way faster, because that's what Morgana can do, is clear, 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 clear. Here's a gank coming in. That was a wishful dark binding, but you don't try, you never succeed.
Yeah, you miss 100% of the shots you don't take, and in this particular case, unfortunately, you miss 100% of the shots that you do take. And MLBD, here's the thing with Morgana, and this is why Morgana is annoying. She clears so fast that she can spend time sitting in a lane poking you down for fun because she has to wait for some of the camps to respawn a little bit here. And despite the comfort that the GP should be having here in this lane, it's not going to feel super comfortable when you have to face a 2v1.
No, and it's not very comfortable when you're worrying about catching a binding, meaning you're going to die. Now, Bud does have the oranges. He can just remove the scurvy. He'll be K. Of course, Dark Binding known for inflicting vitamin C deficiency upon all those afflicted by it, which is why the oranges work against it. It's a fun lore fact for you that I didn't just make up on the spot, I promise. No big deal.
Yeah, because Dark Binding, saps out all your vitamin C, suddenly your legs don't work. That's how the root works, right? Yeah.
Yeah, that's what it is. It's those afflicted by the Dark Binding, they actually just have scurvy.
Yeah, no wonder remove scurvy works so well. Rune Terran science for you guys right there. You know what? This is kind of why I wasn't hoping for jungle gank so much as just jungle duos, because that's how these ganks are going to go pretty much. You walk in, you kind of poke your head out, and most of the lanes are fairly safe. Probably the most exposed individual is going to be Snow in the mid lane on this Orianna, but so far Snow's been doing a great job controlling the wave state here, making sure that Snow doesn't push out, and Pluto's the one who constantly has to overextend, or, well, not really overextend, you're on Illusion, but you've got to go pretty far out to get yourself some gold.
Yeah, and I mean, justifying a Lucian pick with this draft means that Pluto needs to be ahead on this Lucian. I mean, there's really no other way to put it. And here comes a gank into mid lane. It's actually counter gank by MLBD. This is a level 6 Morgana versus a level 4 Xin Zhao. The junglers still only trade flashes. That means that Fish Our Friends going to run away with a little less health. Mid laners about equal in damage taken. Good timing from MLBD to counter gank. Pluto would have been in trouble if not.
Huge differential there in terms of the levels. Now, Flash is blown on both junglers, so it wasn't a complete win for the side of Red Hawks. But at least for the next little while, Wolves can't really contest any of the major objectives here. The smite advantage is huge, not to mention just the sheer damage. That's something you don't see in the gold. The gold's dead even. But Red Hawks are actually up in terms of effective gold, because each level is roughly a couple 100 gold worth of stats, and in terms of your skill points as well. MLBD, though, not even looking at that Drake. They're just going to completely ignore this Cloud Drake. I know it's not that important, but can we at least clear it to get the next one, please?
Well, it's worth mentioning Cloud Drake is the hardest Drake to take early on and can actually pose problems for a Morgana without team help. Lost Haptor not really giving you a ton of damage to do to that dragon. And that dragon hurts, man. Cloud Dragon will punch you in the face and take your lunch money if you're not careful. So that makes it a little higher. What is Fisher Friends doing? You're invading without flash on Xin Zhao. I mean, he's gonna die. Like, huh? What? Was he hoping? Maybe he was hoping Morgana was on the dragon and was like, she's doing the dragon, so I'll go take the red buff.
I will say this. I mean, you want to invade early when you're even.
God, I don't understand.
I don't even think I'm not even sure he got the red buff actually at the end of the day in terms of just the experience. So that really sucks. MLBD again still up 2 levels. We're seeing the support start to roam up a little bit here, but that jungle difference is just too huge, and you're gonna get yet another scuttle, and that should be Drake cleared off here.
Yeah, I think the consolation was that Fish Are Friends did get the smite on the red buff, so he did get 100 gold before going down, but not worth. It's really just not worth going in and killing yourself for a 100 gold camp. And I'm struggling to understand how that one could have gone any other way. You're a flashless Xin Zhao in the enemy jungle. You're going to die. That's really how that goes.
Saves lives, I guess, and the vision just wasn't there for Fisher. Actually, no, that can't even be true because you have to have the audacious charge off. So you must have seen that red buff was attacking someone. You don't win that. Now, Pluto hiding here. They're going to continue picking on Fisher Friends, perhaps. That's a 2-level advantage.
Yeah, I mean, the Xin Zhao is now starting to get dangerously far behind, right? This is a level 5 Xin Zhao in a game where the solo laners are 7, MLBD on this Morgana, somehow ahead of them level 8. That's Morgana jungle for you. That's what we were missing here in game 1, is the Morgana just power farming up 20 CS on everyone else in the game. That's what you come to expect from this pick.
Very, very different from game 1 here. More of a draft difference or pathing difference, but you know what? Just power farming, that certainly is a viable win strat. And now they can look at Herald because Dragon's down. There's no contest. Mabud is receiving a wave right now, and Mabud doesn't want to push out, right? The Gangplank's perfectly happy soaking up the minions. That's their happy place. Mid lane, Pluto might be trading a lot of health, but it's for pressure. And because that pressure's down, Snow can't rotate. And yeah, this should be just a free Herald. I don't think Fisher Friends even knows it's being done. Just next.
Yeah, I mean, even if he did, down 2 levels, you don't want anything to do with that. You're like a caster minion compared to this level 8 Morgana. You just need to farm, do your own thing, be safe, be happy, stop going for these risky plays, and chill for a little while, because it's, as we said, this is the win lane win game kind of game. So it's, if you can avoid putting yourself further behind, you want to do that at all costs at this point.
I just gotta say, you know, as a minion caster myself, I don't like that comparison there. I mean, we get kills sometimes. I don't think Fisher Friends is getting a kill anytime soon right now.
Melee minion? Melee minion. You're a melee minion. How about that?
He can still soak up some damage. He's good for that. And he's probably worth more gold than the 14 that we're usually worth. But for now, that is Herald going over the way of MLBD. And it's been a bit of a slow start. Everybody's just been farming up a storm. Now, with the Herald in pocket, we might probably see farming for the next minute or two. But before the 14-minute mark, Herald will be dropped. And wherever Herald drops, that's probably where we're going to get to see our first larger skirmish, 3v3 or more.
Yeah, and I think that's going to be the kind of thing that Miami is looking for. They want to make these plays happen. They want to take fights while they can. They have this Lucian who's kind of approaching one of the earlier power spikes with that first item nearing completion. That is when he wants to be scrapping. That is when he wants to be punishing kind of these mages that aren't quite online with just one item. So if they can drop Herald, if they can use Pluto being ahead or at least being on a spike that's more powerful, because he's not ahead, he's actually down 5 CS. I said ahead, but I meant down 5 CS. It's fine. They're equal. You know what I meant. You want to fight, is what I'm saying.
No, we get you there, Ghostline. Good props to Snow, actually, because you're right. That should be a lead for Pluto in the mid lane with this Lucian into the Orianna. That was a counter pick too, right? And Lucian, the only time you counter pick Lucian is to win lane. Like, you're not looking at late game and going, hey, this Lucian's going to carry us at 30 minutes, guys, or at 20 minutes. No, you're looking to dominate right off the bat. So huge props to Snow for being able to be even. That's a win in the mid lane right now.
And we see a little bit of scrapping going down. Grim bailed out by the most perfectly timed minion wave, but Herald's gonna come down. Fish Our Friends is in the vicinity, might try to rotate down to save this turret. It's low enough that this Herald isn't gonna take it, but it's gonna come very close to doing so. With those minions there, with the Herald hitting it, it should go down with a little more help, but doesn't look like Miami want to finish that job. They're just gonna hit a Dark Binding onto this Alistar, force the Unbreakable Will out of him. Dave's just gonna have to walk away.
They can now take it here. I mean, I like what they tried to do there. That bot lane turret, that's not safety anymore. They take it in 1 or 2 hits, and so there's no defense on this. You just abandon it. Fish Our Friends abandoned bot lane as well. Was looking mid, trying to see what you can find, but unfortunately, you can't find Pluto. Pluto was already backing off, and without vision too, just blind spider senses tingling there, knowing that a gank was coming his way.
And what I'd like to see for Fish Our Friends here is this is the time to go invade the enemy red buff. You saw the Morgana bot lane. She was there for a while. You know there's no chance you're going to take that blast cone over the wall and face check into a Morgana who simply kills you. And that was the time to go for that cross-map counter-jungling play. Instead, Fish Our Friends kind of sits around hoping to get something mid, takes his own wolf camp, and just kind of wastes that opportunity, you know? So it's a turret taken by MLBD and Miami in bot lane, and they don't really pay any kind of price for it. It's just a proactive play with no punish. Works out for them, puts them comfortably ahead here.
Now that they've taken down the first turret of the game, Red Hawks, well, Dragon's coming up, so that should be priority number 1. But after that, I want to see some lane rotations right now. There's no point leaving IBN and Cleave in the long lane here. Much better to put the Shen or the Lucian, both much more escapable here, and then siege up the mid lane instead with your range advantage. For the side of the Wolves, the long lane is an opportunity for you because whoever's in that long lane is gankable. And so far, Fish Our Friends has struggled. So I want to see more vision bot side and then potentially just punish that long lane.
Yeah, I mean, right now you can see that Fish Our Friends is looking towards this dragon. Daze and Grim are here. MLBD just reset, so this dragon could be going to Wichita Wolves. You see the Morgana approaching. This is going to be a 5-on-5 if the dragon keeps going. It does not look like Miami want to give it away. They're beginning to walk in. The dragon's getting low. The smite comes through. They're going to secure it. Daze gets a 2-man pulverize onto Ivy, and the Jinx is kiting away. The Encore goes through 3. No one has fallen yet, though. Lucian's going to have to flash out to get himself the safety. Fish Our Friends going to blow the flash of Cleave, I think. I don't know. No one's dead. Die. Someone fight. Do damage. There's a shockwave. It's going to connect onto Cleave. He's still not down. He's just really low. Is that it?
I'm feeling but
no one dies. It's fine. How did no one die? I don't understand. It's fine. Oh. Everything's okay, RMC.
Is it?
We're just eating oranges. It's okay.
You're not ending this. It just keeps on going.
No, we're just trading abilities. I mean, LBD has hit like 7 bindings, and just no one has died from it. They just keep getting hit, and they just keep being fine. At the end of the day, Wichita Wolves, they pick up a dragon, everyone gets really low, and then they walk out, and that was it. It's over.
Okay, let's try and recap that. A lot of summoners blown. We've only got the flash left on Fish Our Friends and on Grim for the side of the Wolves. On the side of Red Hawks right now, Flash and Heal, both up for IBN, TP for Lucian there. So IBN was under 0 threat the entire fight. And the entire fight, it felt like Wolves were on the back foot. They were the ones kiting back, but just not enough damage. No Mythic on IBN yet. Pluto just completed the Kraken Slayer, but wasn't able to safely put the damage in. And Mabud, that top lane is just not gankable for Morgana.
Yeah, that is kind of how the Morgana jungle into Gangplank goes, is you're like, cool, I landed the longest CC in the oh, okay. That's... He got his vitamin C back because he ate the orange that I had taken away from him when I connected the Dark Binding. And it's good reaction time. I mean, it's not even like amazing reaction time from him, but it's just he has an ability that counters the ability that MLBD throws at him. In any case, he's going to keep farming up top lane with the Morgana now, turning back towards this Herald. It looks like it's going to be theirs. There is no contest. There is no way for Wichita Wolves to try to contest an objective where the Morgana is there first. So they're going to give that over, and Miami going to look to try and get another turret with that.
On the side of Miami, they're scaling. They're getting up there. Kraken still competed for IBN now, still waiting for the second power spike. Mo is way too far up this week.
Yep, this is an Orianna caught behind a Lucian. Gonna try and make this trade happen. Pluto kind of kiting it out. He doesn't need to do anything. A Super Mega Death Rocket going to do some damage to Snow. Now he's just gonna try and give the kill to Cleave if he can. Cleave's smart enough to throw the Lantern, try and get this Orianna out of there. Now they're trying to chase. Pluto finally going to get the kill. No big deal, pretty easy. Just walked around the bush made sure that Snow was in an awkward place. And now we have a fight going down in the jungle. MLBD going to hit the binding onto Fish Our Friends. He's going to have to pop his ultimate Crescent Guard to knock that Morgana away, get himself out of those soul shackles. Did get the crab though, so. I said didn't, I meant did.
I am deeply concerned at this point. The last full team fight we saw, nobody died. And I was thinking, okay, that's just because of how the comms work. They didn't have the damage yet. There's a whole bunch of supports on the map. But that Orianna kill, that too took half a day. And I was actually scared that Snow was going to get out. On the fight with Fish Are Friends, again, just disengage, no blood. I'm starting to suspect that we might not get double-digit kills this game.
Yeah, I mean, it's been a very slow, tactical, methodical game. It's a 2,500 gold lead at 17 minutes, which is like a comfortable gold lead, but it's not game-winning. It's just a strong position to be in. The Herald, that was second Herald. It was dropped for a chunk on mid-turret. So that was it. It didn't get the turret. It didn't knock it down. It chunked it a little bit, though.
Okay, so if we look at what the teams want to do at this point, because I mean, just dancing around isn't going to get anything done here. The Ridhawks, the lack of engage is really coming back to bite them. I think they're ahead, and they weren't expecting to be this far ahead at this point in the game, and that's why they're looking a little lost here. They do have the range from the Jinx rockets, so they can actually comfortably siege up. Kraken's there completed as well, but they're very careful. They're very conscious of the shockwave, so I'm expecting to see an acceleration from them once that second item has been completed from the side of IBN here. For the side of Wolves, they're lucky they got that second Drake, because Drake stacking was a huge win con for Redhawks with that Morgana. Now, we're starting to hit the point where Morgana is starting to fall off a little bit. Yeah, great, you've got kills, you've got a whole bunch of CS, but you're ultimately still Morgana. You're there for your Dark Binding. Whereas the Gangplank, Mabud has hardly interfered in any of the fights, has been just farming up a Storm right now. And soon, with that Trinity Force completed, those barrels are gonna hurt. And I'm looking at a 2-item power spike as well from Mabud to look for Wolves to start finding picks, sieging things up, and just getting that barrel burst down.
Yep, we see it looks like the dragon has spawned. The fight gonna look like it's starting. The Encore gonna get stopped by the stopwatch from MLBD. It doesn't really seem like Wichita Wolves want to contest this dragon with that ultimate down. Could be wrong about that. They do still have the shockwave. Fish Our Friends is kind of lurking. He might just go for the hero steal here. He's going to go in. He's not going to get it. He's going to have to flash back out to safety. So it's a cost of that Xin Zhao's flash to trade for that dragon. Not that terrible, all things considered. Very little risk on that play. I like it. You go for it. You don't get it. No big deal. So no more kills, as is the case with this game. So we're chilling. How was your day, RMC?
Going pretty well today. I know, pretty action-packed for the most part. Game 1 was pretty action-packed too, and then
it was.
I guess it was that relaxation time. Maybe think about what I'll have for dinner after this goes low.
How about you? I actually have that sorted out. I got some Subway. I have a sub sitting in the fridge waiting for me once this is done. Very excited about that. So,
how long are we talking? Like the 6-inch?
No, I mean, you can get a 6-inch sub if you get double meat. I think is like a good meal for dinner. I prefer a 12-inch sub that doesn't have double meat because the bread is just really good. It's actually, I think it's funny is the thing about Subway bread is it doesn't count as bread in some jurisdictions because it has too much sugar. So it's like cake or something like that. I don't know exactly what the law is there, but it's like in Italy or something, or France. I think it's France is where it's not technically bread. So that's a fun fact for you.
Their patisseries and their bread and their baking really serious there. Kind of makes sense. That's not the best things. We are seeing it set up a bit for this mid lane right now. I don't think we're going to see action. I'm just bringing it up because the turret's about to go down.
Yep, my turret. No one's going to die defending it. No one's going to die ever this game, man. I mean, after that one team fight, it's like that was our fate. Is just we're throwing out hooks, we're connecting them. It's onto an Alistair, and everyone says, "Okay, well, you hooked the Alistair, so we're just going to walk away, and no one's going to care." So. Who does this favor? Who does sitting around and doing nothing favor? I think we said the Morgana not really scaling like a monster, Lucian not really scaling like a monster. The Jinx has the scaling, the Gangplank has scaling, Seraphine scales perfectly fine. Is Wichita Wolves just okay with this? That's what I'm starting to think, is maybe Wichita Wolves are fine just sitting on their butts and doing nothing for 25 minutes.
Kind of are right now because they're waiting for breakpoints. Since Fish Our Friends falls off the edge of a cliff. I mean, he was already pushed off the beginning of the game, but he's definitely not climbing back up. So the jungles are fairly equal. Your supports are fairly equal. Our Shen skill is great now, with some of those changes, the fact that Stan United skills off max health a little bit. So it's just power spikes we're waiting on. And I'm just waiting for IBN to actually get enough gold to complete what looks like a rapid fire cannon, because I think that's when they'll start to turn the screws on. We are 22 minutes, just shy of that here. I know it doesn't feel that way because like nothing has happened and we're down only at 2 kills. But Baron is on the map. Baron is an objective. And the moment we see a fight, the moment we see people dropping, the pace of the game will pick right up. Baron will go down. Turrets will go down. And then once with that lead, then we start seeing something happen. So I just want them to pick a fight. Anybody walk into somewhere. But their vision has been good so far and nobody's risking anything.
Yeah, it's worth mentioning that Baron will fall very quickly for Miami University. The Lucian and the Jinx mean that objective just melts to them if they decide to contest it. So at some point, they might be able to just start the Baron and force Wichita Wolves into kind of an uncomfortable position. So I'd like to see that from them at some point. Looks like for now, Pluto's just going to be split pushing in bot lane. More importantly, I have word from Twitch chat that someone probably Googled it, is that the subway thing is that it's not bred in Ireland. So I'm sorry for saying it was France. It's Ireland where their bread is not bred. So that felt like an important correction to make. I just wanted to get that out there.
I was actually thinking the France one would make a lot more sense. That
it really would, wouldn't it?
Like that would have made sense. I guess that's why Subway went there. But you know what, Ireland, okay, they had the potato famine, so I guess carbs are an important thing to them. Lucent trading with Snow here. Yeah, there's just no kill potential. Okay, forget them. Let's go back to Subway. Can we get sponsored by Subway, you think?
Is that our angle? Divine League brought to you by me talking about my dinner. This is the finals, RMC. I feel like... Come on, man. Where's the action? Looks like actually there is a play being set up, though. We have a Morgana and a Thresh here. 2 whole people trying to go from a Bud. You land the Dark Binding, you remove the Scurvy, then you land the Death Sentence, and he doesn't have more oranges for that. But never mind, we're not actually doing that. There's a dragon in 35 seconds, so we're going to back off. We're going to look for that. Maybe, just maybe, the teams will fight over this objective.
It's a gank fight. They keep looking to the bot lane. That's why I was like, no, don't even bother to coleslaw. The Scurvy is a lie. There's just no point ganking this bot lane from a Bud when he's that safe there. Dragon, 17 seconds. You know what? I'm a little worried that they won't fight that because they don't need to. It's not so just yet here. And Orianna, well, Snow does have TP, I guess. So maybe they look for it. They're grouping up. There, I hope.
Yep, we see the hook connecting onto Daze. This Alistar is getting very low. Fisher Friends looking onto Cleave. He's actually going to engage onto this Thresh. He's getting very low. The Encore is going to go through 3. Flash forced out of Ibian. You see Daze now breaking the Unbreakable Will. That's a 3-man Pulverize going in. There's a Shockwave onto 2. There's a barrel. The Jinx is down. That's going to be the fight for Wichita Wolves. Pluto doing his best to clean up the fight on the backside, but is it going to be enough? He's now being chased away. Lucent hits a nice taunt through Fish Our Friends, but there's no damage. There's no follow-up. He flashes away into the bush, but the stun comes through just in time. He's going to fall. It's going to be a 3-for-1 in favor of Wichita Wolves. They're going to be able to pick up this dragon. And finally, RMC, there's some action, and it falls off for the side of Wichita Wolves.
Point when we finally get action, it was messy and kills went down all 3 to Mabud here for the Wolves. I have very mixed feelings right now, Coleslaw, because if Red Hawks wins that, the pace of the game picks up. But because the Wolves won it and they got Dragon, I've got some bad news for you.
We're going to be waiting.
They're getting there, though. GP, like, Mabud is starting to pop off a little bit here. And that 3-0, absolutely going to pick that up. Went for the Sterix Gauge second item here. So a bit more tanky, a bit less damage. Ooh, all vision has lapsed around Baron. If Red Hawks sweep this, they can just start it. TP coming down.
And it looks, oh, there's a blue trinket that's going to spot them out. That's not dissuading them, though. They're going for it. I think they maybe realize after losing that fight that there is some urgency necessary here. The Baron is already getting low. It's at about a third of its HP. Wichita Wolves are showing up to the fight. Daze is here. Grim is here. He's going to root down 2, but the Baron going to go down, secured by MLBD. It's just, can they survive? Can they get out? Shockwave goes through 3. They're on the run. Can Miami University flee? It doesn't look like it. Cleave falls. MLBD falls. Lucent falls. They're chasing down Ibian and Pluto. Ibian has no hope of getting out of here. This is a summonerless Jinx. Pluto, the last survivor. They get the Baron, but they lose 4. Turrets are going to start to fall, and I'm just not sure that's worth it for Miami University.
Pluto now with that Baron buff, and even worse, you can't split push into the likes of Wichita Wolves right here. Grim has just been sustaining everybody through these fights. There is an Oblivion Orb for MLBD, but that 40% Grievous Wounds just not cutting it right now. They just don't seem to have damage, and that armor is so big. Now, if you do send Pluto to split push, Mabud's right there, and right now Mabud is so big that no one can handle him 1v1.
Yeah, this Gangplank has scaled. The level 13 power spike is online. The 2-item power spike is online. The dragons are even. It's just a very strong Gangplank, and he's going to be a monster for the rest of this game. It's in these fights. He's finding the barrel combos. It was in that first fight by Dragon. It was the Shockwave and a barrel combo that eliminated IBN. Had to burn Flash just to get away from Grim's ultimate. Ended up stuck there, eating all of that damage, went down. And similarly, it's when you're in a pit and you're trying to take this objective and you have all of this AoE damage coming in, it's just not going to work for you. And it's Snow, it's Mabud, it's Grim capitalizing on that yet again, layering their abilities, layering their damage, stacking it onto multiple members of Miami University to get tons of value. And it just puts them ahead. So Baron falls, but doesn't really advance the game.
Anything, it's just going to push the waves into Wolves, who will be happy to just grab all that gold there, suck it all right up. But for the Red Hawks here, I don't want people to think that, hey, they just, that was a bad call on the Baron there. They lost the fight. They checked the vision before they started. That was a good call. And in fact, the reason why that fight at Baron Pit went so badly for them was also because they took all that damage from Baron. They were debuffed out the wazoo right there. So the damage that hit a lot harder than it normally does. If that was an open grounds, we saw how close that that Dragon fight there was. It took a lot longer for people to go down. If IBN doesn't get dropped immediately right off the bat, it goes a little different here. So despite the fact that they do lose 4, they can still win fights. They just need to keep IBN alive. It's not about Pluto. It's about the Jinx.
Yep, and you see they're chasing down Snow, the Dark Binding going to connect. They actually burned the Stand United as well. I'm not sure that was necessary, but they're using what they have of their Baron. They're going to get a turret. They're going to get a pick. It looks like they're going to be at risk of getting out here because here comes the re-engage. Dage getting the Pulverize onto MLBD. Grim is here. The Soul Shackle is going to get a stun onto this Alistar, but it leaves MLBD up a creek without a paddle. He's going to go right down, so it's a trade of kills. It's a good collapse. In the meanwhile, though, I've been hitting this mid turret. Going to try and get some chip damage. Drop the Chompers, takes a Lantern to get out the safety. So it's 1 for 1, but they got a turret. That's a good trade for Miami University. And the one thing I wanted to say, sorry, I'm going to ramble a little bit here, but I liked that Baron call from them. It's once you finally get that team fight check, you get the 5v5, and it's a 3 for 1 where you're not feeling particularly comfortable. You're in desperation mode. You got to make things happen. Going for that Baron, it can give them a win con. It didn't work out, but if it did, it would have made the game theirs. So I really liked it. By the way, Lucen's dead, so you know.
We finally get some action here, and we're still talking about well, it's related. I agree with you, like with that Baron call, but Baron is done and dusted. The buff has worn off, and I could accept the MLBD for Snow trade. That's fine. It happened far back enough that they'd be up for the next objective. However, this Lucent catch, that's not being answered whatsoever. Dragon coming up in 10 seconds, and again, it's not Soul, but it is going to threaten Soul point now for most likely the Wolves because they are set up and the Red Hawks aren't there, and having that shield on an already tanky team that won't die, that's just going to make things harder and harder. And then when Baron comes up, when Elder comes up here, I don't know if the Red Hawks are going to be in great position to contest it.
Yeah, this is a team that has 2 Steris Gauges and a Locket, so they're building tanky. They're building to have a lot of health, to have not that much in the way of resistances. Those Tab-Eyes did all come through like I expected, so that is there. That is going to block out Pluto's and IBN's damage some more. And I think at this point, I'm gonna say that Wichita Wolves are in a commanding position. It's only a 1K gold lead, but with Soul Point, a pattern of team fight wins, and just scaling at their backs, I think they have to be feeling pretty comfortable here.
Good attempt at a pick, but it's onto the Alistar. And here's the problem for Red Hawks right now. They need to establish vision to find picks. That's the only way they're really going to find things right now. They don't have to engage in these fights. And so far, we've seen that the Wolves have been getting their pick of how they want to fight. They get to put some barrels down. They get to do some chip damage. And then when things get desperate, they engage. Red Hawks don't have that option. They don't have a ready go button built into them. They don't have a cannon barrage to slow everybody down, et cetera, et cetera. It's relying on MLBD flashing in, and MLBD's not been having a good time of that initiate now. So this top side right now, it's turning red. I like that from the Red Hawks. But Wichita Wolves don't care. It's 30 seconds right now. They're not really feeling the pressure to set all this up.
Yep, and here's an engage from Fish Our Friends. He's looking for MLBD. He's only going to get a one-man shockwave onto Lucent. He's very deep in there, but he's staying alive. He has the heals from Seraphine. He has the shield from Hysterix. He's actually healthier than he was a few seconds ago, and now the fight is scattered. Daze in a very awkward place. This Alistair is going to fall to Ibian, so it is going to be a pick. It is going to be a 1-for-0 in favor of Miami University. They're going to look towards this Baron. In the meanwhile, Mabud just pushing bot lane. He might teleport in. The Baron gets done fast. There are 2 marksmen doing this. Pluto is insanely low, though. And Fish Our Friends is alive. There is a jungler here. He's going in. He's focusing MLBD. We have stopwatches being popped left and right. Everyone's golden. Everyone's shiny. It's going to be a kill onto Fish Our Friends. That's a huge crit onto Snow. So it's going to be a fight won by Miami University. They're going to turn back onto this Baron, but it's going to cost them their bot inhibitor. And it looks like Mabud just not stopping. He's going to keep pushing. Pluto coming to answer him. Grim and Snow still here for the Baron. It's going to be secured. Mabud now finally running away, especially with the threat of Baron recalls coming in. Grim going to have to flash away from the taunt. Looks like we're finally going to disengage, so it's a Baron for Miami, an inhibitor for Wichita Wolves. A few kills both sides. The game keeps going.
That was so close there, Coleslaw. The fact that Pluto just barely backed, that managed to stall just a couple more seconds. Nexus turret goes down, and that's when it comes down to decision making. Because Mabud did not use the TP, they lost the Baron here. You do get a ton of pressure bot side, but the question is it worth it here? You can shove this out, and frankly, I'm going to say at this point, Baron doesn't matter. The Baron's only there to help you push at this point. Elder is way more important. And the stat buff you get from the Baron is not really enough to swing the fights in the favor of Red Hawks. They won that because they got the picks, because they had the numbers advantage. So Red Hawks now have to find some sort of answering pressure. If they don't take an inhibitor to match what they lost here, they're behind on the Baron play.
Yeah, I mean, one of the nice things about Baron and why I like this trade for them is that when you lose one inhibitor and you get Baron, what you can do is you can just push in the lane where the super minions are pushing counter to you. So you're there to manually clear and shove against the super minions, and then your Baron wave pushes right back. That's exactly what they're doing. It's the right play. It's the right way to make this trade. And now the pressure's on them to take this turret. That's what they need to do to make this worth. Maybe they can try, but there's a lot of engage from Wichita Wolves. They have to be very respectful of the Seraphine R, of the Xin Zhao going in with a shockwave to combo on top of him, of something like a headbutt pulverize from the Alistair. And you see that they're not even standing near this turret. They can't really approach it that close. That means that it's going to be hard for them to crack the base.
That was a double stack wave they just shoved in. It took like 10% of that turret's health right now. They're trying to split push. I like this idea here. I'm just scared. They have to make sure they track where Mabud is specifically, because Mabud's the one who can wave clear and who can potentially pop a carry.
Yeah, you know, it's with those barrels, with that cannon barrage. We see it engage onto Lucent. The Black Shield going to come in a little late. The Shen is CC'd. The focus goes to MLBD instead. He gets the Soul Shackles. He gets the Zanyas. He gets the Lantern. Right now, that's a 3-man pulverize by Daze. That's going to mess up the backline of Miami University. Ivan has to kite so far away that he wasn't doing damage, but no one has fallen. The Jinx is still alive. That's a 3-man shockwave, too. It's just abilities keep connecting. Ivan is down. The fight is lost. Miami has to flee. Can they get out? Pluto is here to save the day. They actually trade it back. It's a 2-for-3 in their favor. Mabud doing what he can, but he's very low. I said the fight is lost because the Jinx is dead, and Pluto from out of the screen comes in from the bottom side, cleans up a few kills, turns that fight right around. Miami University end up on top. They end up with the dragon.
That Pluto flank took forever to come in. I was saying his name over and over because he just couldn't seem to find a good time to enter. They trade even, they get dragon, and they stave off soul. Things are just dead even right now, but it is a win for the Wolves in that they have waited out the entire duration of the Baron buff and have not lost any of their turrets whatsoever.
Yeah, I mean, it's the Baron power play was up 1 kill and 1 dragon, I believe, is the end result of that. So it's something. It's just not a lot.
No, it's not. Now, Baron coming up in 2.5 minutes. That bot lane inhibitor will be up at that time. So we're likely to see yet another face-off coming in. And for at least the next 2.5 minutes, Coleslaw, there's really no incentive for the teams to fight, to push here. Teleports are available on Mabud and Snow, Lucent and Pluto. So all of them are available right now. And that does mean that we're probably just going to see a sort of boring, solid stall state potentially here. The only person with agency is Mabud right now. And if they want to send Mabud to push a different lane, they need to set up the vision, because right now the vision is almost all defensive on the side of Wolves.
And we're just chilling until that objective. You're totally right, you know? It's like, we're going to relax. We're going to play some slow League of Legends.
Sometimes I hate being right, Coleslaw.
It's okay. It's okay.
I want action.
This is the right play for both of these teams. It's just, unless you're donated something or something super free, there's just no reason to take the risk, do anything outlandish when there's a minute and a half until the next objective. I mean, you could argue, well, we can go get some kills and see what happens, but just doesn't seem worth to fight over nothing. Maybe you could argue Wichita Wolves could like try and get a second inhibitor to get some more pressure or something like that. It's hard to justify. So they are just going to play the vision game. They are just going to contest some vision. It's going to be about fishing for picks, fishing for bindings for the side of Miami University and MLBD especially. See this Morgana doing some pretty big damage. We can talk about items a little bit here. That is Leandri's Demotic Embrace, Merlinomicon. So that Morgana just melting and making sure you can't heal back up against it.
Forces you to actually have to be aware of where you're standing. We did see Mabud actually taking most of the damage from that tormented, it's not tormented soil anymore, tormented shadow. They changed it ever so
Is it tormented shadow? It's not tormented soil?
They changed it. I don't know when they did it. I think they did it when they changed the item. It's like Luden's Tempest instead of Luden's Echo now.
I did not know that. I've clicked on it and confirmed. Everyone I can validate. He's not lying. It's tormented shadow. So that's news to me. Yeah, it does a lot of damage though. That's a good point. If you stand in it, you're gonna get chunked. So that's kind of one of those things that you overlook about these late game Morgana builds, is that with so much max health damage as well as the missing health damage, it can do damage. Here's an engage. They're looking onto Ivian. There's a fantastic lantern there to save that Jinx. Get Ivian out of there. Now the attention turns to Lucent, who has been left for dead. There's no lantern for him. He's going to fall. Very sad for that top laner. Now they look for MLBD. Another excellent lantern, going to make sure that the kill on the Morgana doesn't come through. So it is just a pick. It was either Ivian or Lucent going to go down. Ivian took that lantern and said, peace out, buddy. See you on the other side. And now it is Wichita Wolves turning onto this Baron.
They've got the numbers. They've got the tanks as well. It's so risky for Redhawks. If anybody gets caught, they're dead.
Yep, and you see they're starting this Baron. You still have the Xin Zhao in the pit looking for it. Here's the encore. The Black Shield is late. Ivian is chunked. Ivian is low. One more auto will do it. It's a Q from the gangplay. He gets the parlay. He gets the kill. MLBD going to pop the Soul Shackles into Zanya to try and keep himself alive. It's another lantern for Cleave. Without this Thresh, Miami University would have lost the game. Every single lantern is on point, keeping everyone alive, but it is still the Jinx going down. The Shen is still down as well, so now it is much, much harder for the Redhawks to contest, and it looks like Wichita Wolves going to get themselves this Baron.
The uncontested here, and that's kind of the problem for the side of Redhawks. It does need to be Lucent sort of tanking the damage, but if Lucent ever goes down, suddenly they can't contest for objectives at all here. There's just so many initiation tools for the side of the Wolves, and they can just continue to pick up. Now they've got the Baron here. The last time we saw the Baron, grand net total gain was 1 kill, 1 dragon. This time, dragon is up, so that should be on the table. It is a Soul Drake coming through, but I want to see the Wolves crack a base. You've got an open inhib bot, you've only got an inhib turret mid, and if the Redhawks try and contest dragon, ignore dragon, place it down, take their base.
Yep, this looks like the mid lane gambit. They say, all right, well, there may be a Soul Dragon coming up, but we have Baron. We're going to get big prio mid. They force Miami University to respond. You can't just lazily take a dragon when a team with Baron is cracking open your base. They have to walk back out, and that paves the path for Wichita Wolves to walk back in. They get into the river. Now they're looking for the fight. They're trying to see if they can do it. Mabud looking for trades, looking for picks. They're bloodthirsty. There is a choke point. It is hard to get through these chokes against the Seraphine because you will get hit up by the Encore. Cleave is down. That's no more Dark Passage to save your carries or get them out to safety. The focus is on Lucent. The focus is on to MLBD. Pluto goes for the flank, but it is not enough when his front line is already fallen. The Lucian goes down. That's going to be the fight. That's going to be the soul. Wichita Wolves finally get the clean fight they were looking for.
The death timers at this point in the game, they're long. We're at 41 minutes, Coleslaw. We've stalled out. We've talked enough subways to bring us to this point here, and therefore your death timers equally long. 40 seconds is enough for you to crack the base and potentially just end the game.
Yeah, this could be it. There is a Baron, there is the wave. They're going to be pushing for it. You have to be thinking game right here with only the Morgana and Jinx. That is damage. There is the hope if it's horribly misplayed, but the turret falls way too fast. The shields are there, the Nexus is falling, and Wichita Wolves going to go up 2-0 in the series.
That was a long one there. I'm not sure how I feel after that game too. What I will say though is I really hope that we don't get another grinder like this one here. The teams need to draft a bit of engage. Red Hawks, they stalled out because they had no engage whatsoever. And for the side of Wichita Wolves, they kind of put themselves in a hole without having an AD carry. You're starting to see the weakness here. They struggled very, very hard to win fights.
Yeah, I mean, it looked like they drafted for scaling and they scaled though. It's kind of the way it went is you lock in Gangplank and you say, it's all right, guys, we have GP. He has late game covered. And then you wait until 35 minutes and then you say, hey, my blood, it's late game. You going to carry? And he's like, yeah, sure, I'll carry. Gets a couple picks, does a couple bit of damage. You win the game. You get the 2-0. You're up in the series. You only need one more game to close it out. That is where you want to be if you're Wichita Wolves. Miami University going to have to adapt, going to have to change things up, going to have to come in with a different game plan and not a Lucian mid lane. They're going to have to try their best to reverse sweep this series if they want to take the finals.
They need to not just shake up the draft because they already shook up the draft, but they need to shake it up in a different way. MLBD did the most damage in the game with the Morgana. That's great. That's good. But the sheer amount of physical damage you had meant that Mabud went 8-0-5. And I just want to draw attention to that last fight as well. When Pluto was dueling Mabud, Mabud lost less than 20% of his health. Pluto lost all of it. That's what happens when you're speccing so heavily into physical damage that the Gangplank can just build a whole bunch of armor and still output that late game damage.
Yeah, I mean, you're sitting on a Ninja Tabi, you're sitting on a Randuin's, you're sitting on a Ravenous Hydra and Asterix to both lifesteal and give you a big shield if you start getting low. That makes you so hard to kill with these 280 carries coming from Miami University of Ohio. And that meant that Mabud was just immensely threatening. The Morgana doesn't bother him. You land the Dark Binding, he says, well, fine, keep going. The 80 carries start auto-attacking him. He doesn't mind. He has crit reduction. He has auto-attack damage reduction. And he's a late-game Gangplank pumping out tons and tons of damage. That was an excellent pickup. That was an excellent build. That was an excellent way to play that game if you're Wichita Wolves with the draft that they had. Worked out for them. They get the Soul. They get the Baron. They get the 2-0. Now we're going to have to take a quick break, and we'll be back with Game 3 in just a few moments. Don't go anywhere. Hello, everyone, and welcome back here to the Risen Esports Divine League Finals. We have gotten through 2 games. We are already on match point. Wichita Wolves Black have been dominant the first couple of games. More dominant in game 1 than game 2, which was a very long snooze fest for 25 minutes. And then they decided, hey, how about we simply win the game? And then they did. So, it's still, you could argue they were in control. They just kind of didn't press the gas pedal down because they didn't need to. So, we're going into a game 3 here, where if Wichita Wolves pick up one more win, then they will pick up the series, the championship, the league, the crown, all of the glory. They will be the ones on top. We're getting into draft for game 3 already. Miami University backs against the wall, gonna have to change things up, find a way to make something happen, because those first 2 games did not look great on their end.
Although it is Wichita Wolves who actually switch up their bans because they are red side now. They're the ones banning the Seraphine, they're the ones banning Thresh, and that leaves open the Senna and the Lilia that they had kept in the ban list the entire series with.
Yeah, and Lilia, interestingly, not necessarily a priority pick right now. It's something that's really powerful in the hands of a skillful jungler. It's something that MLBD might be able to carry on, which I think is why we saw it getting denied a lot, and they didn't want to first pick it themselves. We'll see if they want to. No, they're just going to lock in Morgana. Because of course they're going to lock in Morgana. This is what we do when we draft on this patch, which is 11 point something or other. 9? 11.9?
11.9. And you know what? You have to ban the Lilia. Little known fact, the L in MLBD stands for Lilia, and the M stands for Morgana. So you pick one, you ban the other. I need to see what the B and the D stand for. Come on, MLBD.
Hey, I mean, if we go to 5 games, maybe it's possible. And hey, does this draft look a little similar to you? We've been here before.
The right teams on the right side? Because, I mean, like, I can't remember this happening on red side game 1, but I think that was Redhawks back then.
It was, yes. It was Redhawks who took the Morgana Varus. And they rounded it out with the 3rd pick mid lane set, which was where things went a little awry. So let's see if Wichita Wolves can change things up, make it a little different. Looks like Miami University going to lock in the Tom Kench, one of the supports that enables an actual AD carry Senna. Though, of course, she can also fast and let that Kench get tanky. So, it's probably the fasting Senna. That's just a better build right now. I think we've all come to terms with that one, as well as a Karma, which, by virtue of Kench Senna being locked in, has to be going to one of 2 lanes.
That Karma is just such a strong power pick right now. We did see the Karma in game 1 as well, but again, it was the Redhawks who picked it. This time it's paired with that Senna Tom Kench, so a lot of protection right away here. This is a change, and this could still be a jungle echo. It could be a mid lane echo as well here, but either way, that's not something that we see very commonly in the current meta.
Yeah, I mean, Echo is a surprise. It's not really one of those picks that you expect to see at any point. I'm looking through my data on Wichita Wolves to see if anyone has ever played Echo, and looks like the answer is no. It's going to be someone playing Echo for the first time in Divine League on their team, so this is a pick that would have been hard to prep for. Looks like they're going to be targeting jungle with their bans, which means that, one of these 2 picks is jungle, that's for sure. It's going to be Morgana or Echo in the jungle. I guess that's not really a big surprise. We see bans coming in from Miami. They're going to ban away in gameplay. And Scion, which leaves Gnar, which was already blind picked before and is probably the pick right here.
I'd agree with that. I think that's a fairly safe pick up here to blind. Or potentially, what are we looking for? Jungle or mid as well could be what you go with here, because Mabud has shown that he can carry. And I feel like if you give Mabud last pick, that is potentially a recipe for a win. And they will right here. So it is last pick for Mabud. I am excited, happy, and kind of scared because they're lacking a tank right now, and I don't want to see Mabud on a tank.
Yeah, who needs a tank when you have a Black Shield, a Chrono Shift, and a Tempered Fate, right? It's so much safety. It's fine. You don't need tankiness. You got sustain and survivability. And Bard is a really fun pick into a Kench support because Kench, not known for having a lot of pressure in lane, which really makes it easy for this Bard to go on roams and go make plays happen in other lanes. Miami gonna pick up Olaf, which is a pick. Haven't seen that one in a while. They were thinking about that Aatrox, and it looks like they're gonna go back to it too.
Yeah, I don't know about this Aatrox. I like the Olaf though. I think it makes a lot of sense into the Morgana. Post 6, Morgana literally can't do anything to you whatsoever here. You can just sort of run in. And Avaris is fairly immobile. We're talking about the Bard being paired with it. But that just, the Tempered Fate's not going to be able to stop Olaf whatsoever there. So will be a little rough. I like that. The Aatrox is going to be actually locked in here. And I think that's just more for a safe lane than anything else, really. But that doesn't feel like it fits the rest of the comp to me right now. I mean, you've got the speed up, you go in, you've got a lot of team fight power with the Aatrox, and I guess you've got the Olaf to dive, but I'm just worried that the CC is just going to let the Olaf in and everybody else gets stuck outside.
Yeah, and Aatrox can be countered with a lot of different picks. Yorick is actually one of the counters for Aatrox these days. You can go Yorick and cause a lot of problems. Camille, a slightly more normal counter that's basically doing what Camille does, where she says, well, I'll just get 3 items and outscale you because I do 30 your health bar with 1 basic ability. So that's the general idea. It's going to round out their draft. It's going to be 2 interesting compositions from these teams. I don't really think the Olaf was addressed with any of the picks from Wichita Wolves, which concerns me.
Camille basically is just going to play around the Olaf. Your Olaf is charging in. Mabudge is going to say, oh, that's fine. That's not my problem. I'm going after the Senna. I'm going after the Karma. And Tom Kench can only devour 1. The other is going to be whoever Mabudge chooses to kill right now. So it kind of feels like, yeah, they haven't addressed the Olaf. The rest of the team, Morgana, Varus, Echo, Bard, a lot of CC here. So nothing to answer MLBD, but you've got the answer to literally everyone else. If MLBD charges and you throw out the Tempered Fate, you make it a 1v5. I don't hate that coming through from Wichita Wolves. Whereas from the side of Red Hawks here, it's a typical Senna, Tom Kench composition. You've got Peel. Thankfully, they have more engaged this time. You've got the speed up from Karma. Aatrox can actually get in there and start fights off. My concern is what happens when they're on the back foot a little bit here. Senna, Tom Kench, Karma. I guess the speed up to run away a little bit, and then you just look to scale, maybe?
Yeah, and I think Karma kind of is the answer to a lot of things because it's that Mantra Shield is just very good. It's movement speed, it's shielding, it's a lot of movement speed, and it goes on everyone. Which makes it really easy to run in or run out. It's a Sivir on very short cooldown once you get to level 16 and start weaving in auto attacks, which makes it very good for kind of doing whatever you need it to do. And I really like this Karma pickup for Miami University. I think this is kind of what they were lacking for their mid lane pickups in the first 2 games. We saw the set mid. It's kind of a off kilter, slightly off the beaten path kind of pickup that just got slammed by Rumble. Then we saw the Lucian, which is supposed to win lane, be a bully, and kind of do a lot of damage, and it just didn't quite manage to get off the ground in that way. And so when your off meta melee champion doesn't work, your hyper aggressive range champion doesn't work, you fall back and you say, well, you know what? Karma's a pretty good champion. She does a lot of things. Karma duty. That's what you're going to do, Pluto. And I really like that. And I think that's going to alleviate some of the problems we've seen in mid lane for the Red Hawks. And I really think I like what it does for this composition.
That for the Red Hawks here, their mid lane has to be sort of a nail here in the plans of Wichita Wolves. Karma and Echo does actually really, really well. You outpoke your range. If the Echo goes into you, you shield, you root them. So you should get favorable trades. But I'm looking at the sides right now, and Varus Bard, they're going to have agency over Ascena Tom Kench pretty much all the time here. They might not win it, but they will have agency and they will be able to roam out. As you kind of alluded to earlier, Bard's going to be all over the place. And the top lane, Camille versus the Aatrox here. The Camille is being picked into the Aatrox. I'm going to admit, I don't quite remember how this matchup is supposed to go here, but I'm going to assume it's Camille favored because Mabut picked that Camille into this. And if you have a roaming support, if your jungler's in there, a single dark binding, we saw it last game. If you land, it's a successful gank here. If they can get the pressure rolling, if Camille takes off, then I think Red Hawks are in for a world of hurt. So early game, I favor Wichita Wolves, and I need them to accelerate the pace of the game because I don't want another 40-minute no-kill game.
I am optimistic that that will not be happening. Last game, it was kind of that way because the team that got ahead had no engage and no way to pick fights. Both these teams have a way to pick fights. So once one team gets ahead, they will be able to press the accelerometer. The pedal will hit the metal. They'll be able to turn the lights on and drive it towards a victory, which I think is the biggest thing here. This is a game where snowballing is possible. And Olaf that gets very far ahead will be very tricky to deal with. I think the only actual answer coming out of Wichita Wolves at all is to simply use the Bartelt on your own team. As you say, well, Olaf is popping that Ragnarok. He's going in. He's CC immune. If we can't CC him, what's the next best thing? CC ourselves and go invulnerable. And I don't really have to say why that's a bad idea in a lot of situations, so I'm not going to.
They're pros and cons, with that situation. And maybe if you play it right, it wouldn't be a complete con. Yeah, no, I'm trying coleslaw. Nope.
Hey, I'm just saying, if you're getting turret dove, you can go for that every once in a while. It's the 1 in 10 times it might actually be a slightly acceptable play.
Works great against Herald, right? Anytime Shelly charges, you just
Yes.
make it go golden. That's definitely an acceptable play there. We'll have to see what they opt to do, but yeah, definitely. I want to see movement from Wichita Wolves mid lane as well, because Snow probably isn't going to win that lane against Karma and might actually just lose it. I want to see just rotations. If you back up your Morgana into an Olaf, that's one way to take an Olaf out. If you kill him before he's 6, he is vulnerable to CC. And Camille, Morgana, Echo, all of them have that CC. You can chain that in here, but it has to be with the lanes, because if not, Morgana against Olaf, it's going to be similar to what we said in game 1, game 2 here. You get binding, you can't engage. If you dodge the binding, you get a kill.
Yeah. And I think that's kind of going to be the point of this game for the Red Hawks. It's MLBD. He's not going to be up in farm. You don't out farm a Morgana, but he might try and get himself up in kills. And that's really what he needs to do, is if he can hit level 6, have a kill or 2 under his belt, pick up another kill or 2 with the first or second use of his ultimate, he can start snowballing this game. And that's, I think, a clear win condition that the Red Dogs have. We'll see if they can execute it. But until then, we're going to have to take a quick break while we wait for the rest of the spectator delay to wind down. And we'll see you shortly once we hit the rift. Divine League Finals. We have Wichita Wolves Black versus the Miami University of Ohio Red Hawks. I did it. I got there. I said their whole name clearly. I'm very proud of myself. If nothing else, that's a victory for this game. But we've got a game that's do or die for one of these teams. Miami has given us a different look in draft yet again. I think I like this look a little better than their attempts in game 1 and 2. It does still have a high execution barrier. They're going to need to play well. They're going to need to make it happen. And Wichita Wolves, I mean, one game, they are it. They're champions. And they've got some interesting picks to power them. It's their first time getting the Morgana jungle. They've got Blood on Camille this game. He's been a power. Snow on the Echo after hard carrying game 1 with Rumble and looking pretty good with Orianna in game 2. Very exciting to see what he'll be able to do on this champion.
For the blue side right now, the Red Hawks here, like you mentioned, their backs are up against the wall here. They have not lost a single series up to this point here. So this is really the first time they're kind of really being forced into this. And I can't imagine they're going to go quietly into the night here. They have drafted a comp this time with a skilling late game. They've got a bit more early game strength. I feel like they're much more balanced this time. And I need to see them be able to execute this.
Well, you see them with the level 1. They're going to come in and contest these Raptors. This is a huge level 1 fight. It's actually a 4-on-3, though. Lucian just going to flash out over the wall. Now MLBD turning around, trying to make something happen. Thinks he might be able to get a kill, but instead he's going to go down, going to give first blood over. And it's probably to the worst person it could possibly go over to if you're the Red Hawks. That is my bud on this Camille, picking up first blood and a free 400 gold for his troubles before he even gets to lane and last hits a creep.
Oh, Pain, why did you coin flip the level 1? Yes, okay, Olaf does great into Morg if he doesn't land the binding, and because, you know, Morg level 1 doesn't start binding. Sure, that's true, but you also need to have equal numbers and make sure that you don't corral yourself into an alcove there, having to burn flash. And MLBD on this Olaf, no flash, so you put yourself in that position, you ain't coming back out alive.
Yeah, I mean, you saw Lucent flashed over the wall and got right out of there, said, you know what, I want no part in this, I'll see you later. MLBD just kind of had to look sad because that's a ghost Olaf, and you can't do the same thing. So, he got abandoned, he got ditched, he got left in the Raptor camp to fault his doom. Daze with the heads-up play there to counter the invade. The Bard was there, the Kench was not, and that's really a big difference maker. And it does raise the question of, you know, if you're going to go for a cheeky level 1 coin flippy type play, why not bring your support up and make sure that it can't go wrong, or at least it'll be on even terms. Instead, backfires, but hasn't been able to base, so it's not going to start hurting them yet, other than putting MLBD behind on the clear timer, but not a good start.
Not the worst start either. I mean, MLBD is a little bit behind, but against the Morgana actually is pretty decent right now. Isn't too far behind in terms of jungle timers. I just feel bad for Lucent because you were saying that Lucent wanted none of it, didn't want to get affected by that flashed away. Well, Lucent's now in lane without flash and with first blood on the bud. He did get impacted by it, not by his choice whatsoever here. And I'm just scared for what happens after the first backs from multiple members. Bot side though, IBN and Cleve were doing pretty well here. And I've seen IBN on Senna before. IBN is rock solid on this champion. It doesn't matter if the rest of the team is feeding, if they're struggling, if they're dying. It doesn't matter. IBN will just basically continue getting souls, and eventually, when you see IBN come into the game, he won't be firing a small laser pointer there. It's going to be a laser cannon.
And hey, it's you take what you can get, right? This is the first time they've been allowed to have Senna in this series. If IBN that comfortable in the champion, it could be for good reason. They were comfortable enough in prioritizing it to first pick it, so it is kind of on them to prove that it's worth it. And I mean, from what you're saying, I think perhaps this is going to be an angle that Miami gets that they haven't really had this series. Spot lane's been pretty quiet. There's been kills, but hasn't really skewed too hard one way or another.
And now the junglers for both these teams, I think they're going to struggle to find a little bit of entryway into the game. MLBD, bot lane's not really very gankable. Mid lane's kind of iffy. We already saw the gank attempt there. So probably has to look top. And honestly, I think if you can get the gank off top for Lucent, that's going to be absolutely massive, considering the disadvantage you have to start with. For Fish are Friends, though, you can gank any lane really here with the Morgana. Just have to land that Dark Binding. And with that clear speed, I expect to see a bot lane gank being thrown in sometime soon.
Yeah, and you do also want to get top lane with that flash burn. It already is about 3/4 of the way to being back off cooldown. It would be nice to go in and punish that level 1 flash. Can be hard as a jungler, though, because sometimes your pathing just doesn't take you there. When you want to start those Raptors and path towards bot lane, just doesn't really set you up for a top gank. And the next time you try and go for it, you're going to have to show and risk losing an objective if you do it. So Fisher Friends maybe not going to be able to make it up there, especially with the state of the lane. Bot lane ganks, they are in the cards. They are on the table. Dragon also up. And actually, are they warding it or are they just going to do it? I see them on my map. I'm going to need to pan my camera over there. And yeah, they've started that dragon up. They're just going for it. It's 5 minutes. We can do a dragon.
And on top of that, they saw the back from Senna Tom Kench there. They know that there's no contest. It's going to take them a while to get back into lane. So they know that that's basically 100% free. Grim can continue to shove this wave out and then potentially go back and match the items. Or what I would prefer to see is a gank into the bot side after you do this here. Grim right now baiting, and they can just look to try and punish Cleve and IBN if they try and step up and go for Grim.
Yeah, and I agree. It would be nice. Of course, the dragon does leave you a little low on mana. It does leave you a little low on... Well, it doesn't leave you any low on health when... Dragon doesn't do any damage this season, man. Only Cloud Dragon. So that Mountain Dragon did nothing.
Yeah, it's kind of tanky. That was it. And honestly, you don't need that much mana either. You just need, how much is it? 100? Oh, no.
2 spells? Yeah. So Here is Fish Are Friends. The minion wave is there to protect Ibian and Cleave. I apologize for the metal claying noises. I have a cat messing with my desk.
And I love this. The fact that Morgana is a support, they just send the support down, and they send Morgana down to act as support, pardon me, and their support up to a different lane. How often do you see a support top lane gank before 10 minutes?
Yeah, and Daze is going to find MLBD. The engage is onto him. This is a level 5 Olaf. There is no flash, which means there's no way out of the Hextech ultimatum. Blood going to get that kill, going to flash out of the Q3 from Lucent to make sure he gets to safety. Daze taking a magical journey. He's a bard. He'll chase down that Aatrox. He doesn't need to be scared of a world-ending Darken. And, you know, he probably should. Lucent's going to walk away, but it is still a kill. They find MLBD in their own jungle. They punish him. They get another kill onto Mabud. And Camille just getting scarier.
I feel bad for MLBD because what are the odds? Like I said, a bard, a support showing up top lane pre-10 minutes. Normally the cycle is first back, support goes mid, tries to gank there and rotates to the bot side. But with Dragon down, with Grim backing, there really wasn't a need to have bard be in that mid lane and rush back down to the bot. So great gank top side here. Now we have to see how can the Red Hawks stabilize? How can they recover? MLBD at least able to get his blue buff to safety.
And it's also worth mentioning that this is a play that's made more possible because it is Senna Kench down in bot lane. There's just not really enough kill pressure on those two champions to punish a Varus for being 1v2 for a couple waves. And you see, I mean, Grim is just sitting back and farming underneath turret a little bit. He's only down a few CS on this Kench that's been doing most of the farming. And so Grim doesn't even have to pay a price for that roam. It's just a free pickup of a kill because that Bard was able to go top lane.
So Sheen Varus, this is a little bit new. So far, I've seen two types of Varuses, and I've been told of a third type. One is the lethality Varus, of course, your poke Varus. One is your on-hit Varus, which is, I assume, what we're going to see with that lethal tempo. And third is AP Varus, which I've heard of, but not seen. Sheen on a Varus, I'm not familiar with any of the builds which do this here.
Well, it's going to be Essence Reaver, right?
I mean, surely it can't be a Divine Thunder. That'd be super, super weird.
Yeah, it's just going to be an Essence Reaver first item, and then we'll have to see where it goes from there. That can kind of play into an on-hit build. It can play into a crit build. You know, that item not bad in those situations. It could just go into lethality. It could be that you pick up Essence Reaver first and then just go lethality after. I think that's actually what it is. I'm like vaguely recalling in the back of my mind that this is a build I saw in a game at one point, but what my friends and I are doing in Gold and Platter is a little different than what's going on at this level of play. So, you know.
It could be the Sever Ezreal build, but it's just not that efficient here. So I'm curious to see how Grim opts to go with this one. But for now, at least, it seems to be working. Now, Lucent has to be careful.
Yep, here's a gank into top lane. Lucent started to get a little frisky, thought about taking a fight. Here comes the gank. Here comes the counter gank. MLBD and Pluto are both here. Fish Are Friends and Mabud gonna have to run away. They are going to be able to get out. So the counter gank not going to net anything for Miami other than saving their top laner's life. It's a lot of resources to do that, but at least they accomplish it.
Now Herald's on the cards, right? You know that you've just forced Lucent back. No TP as well, because had to use it back to lane earlier. You get full control over this. Should note, MLBD is now level 7. Does have that Ragnarok available, so you need to start ganking. Olaf is not a farming jungler. If you're stifled in your own jungle, that is not an ideal situation here. And now with Ragnarok, you've got all the tools you theoretically need to force some of these lanes.
Yeah, the issue, there's just no one to gank right now. It's a Varus who's been shoved under his turret all game. It's a Camille who's really strong and can get out in any given instant. And an Echo who has that, oh man, I said it earlier, Chrono Break is what it is. And he can just dash out of there too, which makes it hard for MLBD to do much more than kill the Morgana is really the biggest target. But if Morgana has protection, if there's always a Bard roaming up towards the Herald to make sure it can be secured, if the Morgana is only showing up in lanes where there's an ally who can help protect, that's just very difficult.
It's not even taking into account the Bard that's been roaming around everywhere. Red Hawks have great vision setup though so far. They have seen a lot of the movements. Their Snow was not able to punish because was caught on control ward, which was not cleared as well. So Red Hawks can continue to play around this vision. Dragon actually just popped up and looks like the pings are coming down for it. Fish Are Friends not exactly rotating this. I kind of don't think they should be giving this for free.
No, and you see MLBD is in position. He's already in the river. He's looking for it. The bot prio is there. You already see Pluto is here, which counts as the mid prio being there. This is 4 people here to contest the dragon. It's going to be a contest back. You see them focusing down this Kench. Cleve getting low, but he's distracting them while the dragon gets low. MLBD going to be able to secure that, no problem. So dragon back over to the Redhawks.
Vision whatsoever from Wolves, and vision is important. Vision saves lives, but vision also helps you secure objectives, and I am so happy, Coleslaw. We get ourselves an Inferno Rift right now, a more open map, more damage, and that's always going to translate to more fights.
Yes, after last game with the Mountain Dragon and no kills, we had 2 kills at 25 minutes. We're at twice the clip of kills that we had last game right now. Incredible. And you're correct. Yeah, it's with an open map, and especially with these team compositions, we just can expect these teams to be fighting it out a little more. Infernal Drake will press the issue. You do not want to risk giving over an Infernal Soul. There's a lot of power, a lot of damage packed into that, and it can swing a lot of the late game dynamics very heavily. The Pokevarus becomes a monster once he picks up an Infernal Soul. The Camille becomes unanswerable in the split push. The Karma will start doing tons of damage just with those Mantra Qs. Senna can chunk with every one of her Qs as well. It's a very valuable Dragon Soul. Both these teams going to want a piece of it.
Drop into the mid lane here. They're just trying to get some plates to get the gold. And speaking of the gold, Coleslaw, it's been very, very even between these two teams. The difference is pretty much just the kills and maybe a plate, and that's about it here. So both teams, we haven't seen a huge team fight yet, and a lot of the early advantages they've gotten, the blown flash from Lucent, the early kills, it's been largely stabilized right now. And I think the next fight is going to tell us a lot about which comp is going to be able to run the mid game. Is the Olaf going to be sufficiently online yet, or is it still going to be the time of that Morgana, that Echo, and that Varus here?
Yeah, and I think one of the other things to point out is that Mabud is 2-0 and hasn't done a lot with it, but that's partially because he had to go Tabai's Executioners, so we don't have an item power spike coming in. There's no big breakpoint for this Camille yet, and when those start coming in, that's when the Camille will get scary. So it's kind of a delayed advantage coming in for Wichita Wolves. Here's a gank coming in. Mabud just going to use that hook shot to get right out of there. I'm not sure if the Redhawks thought they were going to be able to generate more than that.
You give credit to Redhawks. What options do they have?
Yeah, it's true. And I mean, maybe he uses it aggressively and then you just get a free kill.
I think that's basically what you're fishing for, because that's what you have to hope for top and mid. Same issue with the Echo, right? They're just such slippery champions here. And that's why I wish they would go for the bot side. But look at the bot side right now. It's completely red. The Wolves know where their most vulnerable lane is, and they've taken great pains to make sure that theoretically they should never get ganked.
Yeah, and it's just heads up play, right? You know, it's when you know it's the only way I can ever die is if I use my hookshot aggressively and Olaf is here, then you say, well, I haven't seen Olaf, so I'm just not going to use this ability. And that keeps you safe. It's that simple. That's respectful gaming is what that is. That's a good lesson for everyone who complains about dying to junglers all the time, is if you don't use your escape and you don't know where the jungler is, the jungler can't kill you.
I love what we're seeing on the top lane right now with the junglers just interrupting.
Ooh, here's a fight in bot lane. I've been getting kind of low. The Cosmic Binding not going to connect, which is going to make sure that they do not get that kill. Cleveland, I've been going to have to run for the hills, though. There's a magical journey. Daze wants blood. He wants murder. He's not going to get it, though. It's just a little too late, a little too slow. I've been Cleve going to have to back off, maybe recall. They have MLBD here. Maybe they're going to look for the punish. There is no Kench ult to flank behind, but there are pings. Looks like they're looking for it, but the Echo and the Morgana collapsing down there as well. The turret going to fall. I'm calling this all out while we're just watching the top laners punch each other's faces in, and actually nothing's happening down there, so never mind.
I mean, the bot lane turret is a clean take here, and more importantly, you need to speed the pace of the game up. You don't want to let Senna just keep farming up the stacks. IBN right now on 61 stacks already here. So a pretty decent pace. And the biggest thing to me about Senna is always the range. That's about 675 attack range. And to put that perspective, Grimm's only got 575. So you don't want to let that stack keep on rolling right now. Dragon coming up in 45 seconds. Only 2 kills so far. And I feel like the last one was like almost 10 minutes ago. So Dragon coming up, I don't think teams are going to see that for free.
Well, this is basically where we were last game with the Dragon coming up. And what we saw was Wichita Wolves secure the Dragon, a extremely long and drawn-out team fight where nobody died. And then we just kind of went back to chilling out, which I don't think is going to be the way this goes. especially because one of these teams doesn't really want to go back to chilling out in the first place. This is Wichita Wolves' moment to strike. This is where they need to leverage their mid-game power spikes. Their Essence Reaver is complete on the Varus. The Leandries is complete on the Morgana. The Echo actually has not yet completed an item, but I also don't think he's reset. Snow probably wants to get back to base and teleport back in to get that Mythic. But here's the Aatrox, here's the engage. Lucent trying to make something happen, getting very low, going to have to run away. He flashes in onto 2. He's doing so much damage, it's just not enough. Came so close to cleaning up the Wichita Wolves backline. Instead, he is the one that's going to fall. He's going to leave the Redhawks at a one-person disadvantage. Mabud's still in top lane, so for now it's a 4v4. The Camille teleport going to need to come in to make this dragon contestable. Fish our friends very low. Looks like Miami now going to have to respect it. Here comes the teleport. They're being flanked. They're going to have to back out of the river, give up this positioning, lest they find themselves in a 4v5.
The fact that Mabud can just keep shoving waves here all the time. Ragnarok up.
Yeah, here comes MLBD. He's going in anyway. Snow is very low. The Chrono Shift hits 3. That's so much damage. Grim dealing with the MLBD Olaf. He's going to be able to get himself safe. It's going to be a wipe. Lucent is back in the fight. He teleported back in. He's taking a magical journey out, but that's going to be a trap for Lucent. He follows it to his doom. It's an ace for the Wichita Wolves. It's their dragon. It's their fight. And if they want to, they might be able to go get that Herald. Doesn't look like it. Prioritizing the enemy red buff, they'll be able to knock down that mid turret too.
You can get the turret and then go on to Herald. There's really nothing stopping them here. Fish Our Friends did just respawn, but looks like they're going to ignore that right now. They don't feel the need to rush that. It reminds me of game 1 here where they didn't take second Herald. They're in a great commanding position. The Camille has taken off. Snow in that mid lane where Karma was able to neutralize him for the bulk of it now is 4-0-3. So the 2 backline threats are online. And more importantly, Grim could handle MLBD. It doesn't matter that you've got Ragnarok. It wasn't about the CC. It was just about the sheer amount of damage that lethal tempo was able to put down along with that Essence Reaver. I still don't think it's optimal, but hey, it worked.
Yeah, I think MLBD did get 1 kill before he went down. It's just that in that time he got poked so little by the Varus that it was Grim finishing off that kill before he could fall as well. So MLBD, his best was trading 1 for 1 there. And in the meanwhile, I mean, Snow hit that 3-man chrono break. And Echo R, it's one of those abilities that you don't normally think about as a damage ability, but it has like a 1.4 AP ratio or something ridiculous like that. So that if you are standing in it and you get hit by it, you get chunked by it. And that's what happened in that fight to most of the Miami University team, and it left them with no health, no ability to survive that fight. And wow, that Cosmic Binding actually connected. That's going to kill Pluto.
That was fast topside. I think he
it's but meanwhile the action doesn't stop. Going to try and turn the kill. He does turn that kill onto Lucent. Dawning Shadow from Senna not going to be able to do enough. Blood going to use the hook shot onto the wall to get out of there. And now the fight is turning onto MLBD. Going to proc the Ragnarok, but he just gets melted by that Camille. That is a very fed, very scary Camille. And with his Q, he's going to be able to do just so much damage. So 2 for 0 in the top lane, 1 for 0 in the bot lane. Wichita Wolves pick up 3 more kills for themselves.
Oh, actually, can they do Herald? I was going to say now you turn for Herald, but it's 1945. It's actually about to
despawn in 10 seconds.
We can go for Baron when it spawns, I think, here with the Varus potentially.
Well, goodbye, Herald. That's the thing, is it despawns at 45 if you haven't started it, and if you have started it, it despawns at 55. But with Herald out of the way, it's Herald's big brother, the Baron Nashor, and no one is anywhere close to this. The Varus is here to do damage, and Wichita Wolves wisely say, hey, well, how about we just take the better objective and do this Baron?
I don't think Riddle expected this. They have no vision down. All their vision lapse expired. They just lost fights, and you can see no pings, nothing. They didn't even see it coming. And a 20-minute Baron is not a game-ending Baron, but it can be a game-breaking Baron. You're already 8k up right now, and if you force a fight with a Varus, with a Morgana, what are the Red Hawks going to do? Senna is not skilled up to the point where you can fight. MLBD is down 2 levels. We've seen what happens. Lucent, same problem. They don't have engaged. They don't have a wave clear without exposing themselves to danger here.
Yeah, and you're right. This is the game-breaking Baron, right? There are inner turrets left that can be taken down. With a Baron and a gold lead like this, with a 503 Camille and a 503 Echo, you're looking at saying, well, we'll send the Camille to one lane to split push and take a turret. We'll send our team to another and we'll get that. And you're just going to be able to knock down those inner turrets. And with the lead that they have, if they take a fight, they can probably crack the base open as well. And at that point, when you have such a massive gold lead, you've cracked open the base. That's going to be it, which means for the Red Hawks, this is it. This is do or die. You need to find something. You need to make something happen. You got to find a pick. You got to find a fight. You just need to get to the angle because you are not going to survive this game if you sit back and do nothing. It is desperation mode. Take what you can get. Take a risky play. That is their only chance.
Right now, they're taking quite a lot of time to set up here. We're already down to less than 2 minutes left of that Baron right now. Grim only finally now starting to push up, and with an Inferno Drake spawning in 30 seconds, Wichita Wolves are in a bit of a situation. I'd like to see them focus the structures instead of the dragon, but Grim.
Well, here's an engage. Lucent finds a flash over the wall to get onto Grim. The Kenchel comes in. It doesn't even need to come in. IBN is there to finish off that Varus. That's going to be a kill, and that is exactly what the Red Hawks need. That's going to buy them a little bit of time. It's going to buy them a little bit of space. You see the Echo hitting on their base, but they have the kill. They have a numbers advantage. If the Dragon's going to be contested, then they're going to stand a chance at winning this fight with a one-man advantage. He's actually going to have to burn flash over the wall. But Bud, meanwhile, whoa, that damage.
Okay,
boy.
If they stay for Dragon right now, they might lose a Nexus turret.
Yeah, it's you have to answer this Camille now. It was fine until Lucent exploded, and now it's a problem. And Fish Are Friends and Snow just on stall duty. You see, Miami University, that's a 4-man tempered fate. They're just stuck here forever. They can't get out. Camille's in their base with a Baron buff, taking an inhibitor. You need to recall. You need to save your Nexus. They're still doing the Dragon. No one is channeling the recall. Lucent's up in 10. Maybe he's the hope. But a Nexus turret's going to fall. Morgana's going to flash over the wall. Not going to be able to steal the Dragon, but the fight keeps going. IBN going to go down to Grim. MLBD chasing him. You see the Karma falls as well. MLBD falls. This is a fight that's just not working out because look at the Nexus. It's gone. We didn't even see it going down. The Bud just knocks it out. Takes the Nexus, takes the game, takes the finals, and wins the championship for the Wichita Wolves.
We can definitively say now, Coleslaw, it was indeed the Mabud show. This entire Risen Divine split was a Mabud diff for the most part. I mean, sick game. I say that. Let's be fair to everybody else. Snow also 7-0-3. Fish Are Friends 0-1-10. It's not the new performance, but it's pretty darn close. But Mabud in 2 back-to-back games now has been absolutely massive, just taking over the game pretty much solo here. And Wichita Wolves, it's that Cinderella story, right? Like they get knocked down, they come back, they came back stronger than ever, and they just 3-0 rolled the Hawks. Colton told me that they win first game, they're going to win 3-0. I'm going to admit I didn't believe him, but hey, I'm wrong. They succeeded.
They knew what they were going for. They said that if they could get a game 1, they'd be in a great position. And I mean, they proved it, right? That was just their solo lanes working it, their bot lanes being there to support them, and Fish Are Friends doing what he needed to make sure that Mabud and Snow could kind of pop off in those respective games and make it happen. It was a really impressive series from Wichita Wolves. It was 3 games where they never really got that far behind. Game 1 and Game 3 in particular were super dominant from them. They end the series and close out the championship in a 23-minute game where they were up 16 kills to 3. That is insane, RMC. That is not just strong. That is not just dominant. That is a one-sided landslide of a game, and it means that they are going to be our champions.
The way they wanted to. Style, holding everybody at Dragon for the solo finish by Mabud. You absolutely gotta love it here. And you know what? For Red Hawks, commiserations to them. I feel bad for them because the meta shifted right at the worst possible moment. There were 2 weeks they didn't get to play. And then the meta shifts, right? Suddenly all the junglers are different. And we talked about how MLBD has been one of their most important tools throughout the entire split. And it's the jungle that shifts the most. That's where the meta completely turned on its head. And I think we really felt it here. The picks, the Morgue was good, but it just didn't seem to be able to do as much. And in game 3, when they fell back to the Olaf, it just kind of all fell apart.
Yeah, and I think it just unfortunate for them, you know, it's the way patches go every once in a while, where sometimes the meta shifts, the meta changes, the picks are totally different, and things go horribly, horribly wrong. Unfortunately, that was what it looked like for the Red Hawks. They were dominant the whole way. Suddenly the meta changes up right as we hit the finals, and it just doesn't go in their favor. And that's it. That's the state of the ever-changing landscape of League of Legends, but you can't understate just how good of a season this was for them. They did not drop a series until this finals. They swept the regular season. They swept their way through the winners bracket of the playoffs. They made it here undefeated. They were one of the strongest teams we've ever seen in Divine. They only fell a little bit short. So props to them. Congratulations on a really well-deserved second place. And I think you're right that sometimes it's just the way the dice fall that you're not able to close it out because of conditions that are really outside of your team's control.
Pretty much here. Now, I do believe we have an interview potentially being
Yes,
lined up for us here. Do we know if it's ready to go? Like, what's the
I
status on?
believe we have Grim here. I believe we're going to get him in a moment. Hello, Grim. Is that you? Are you around?
The Ouija board? Grim, can you hear us?
Hold on a minute. Let's see. Uh, oh boy. Oh boy. We thought we had Grim. We didn't. Oh, oh,
Oh, are we good?
we're good.
Hey,
Hi, Grim. Congratulations. You just won a championship.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
So, going into this series, it seemed like y'all were confident. When we talked to Colton, we heard that if you could win one game, you would win three. What kind of powered that confidence? What made you think that you were going to be able to come back and close out a series against a team where the first series didn't go so well for you?
Well, I mean, we had a few roster changes, as everybody knows. I know the original round of roster was actually fine. I mean, there was no issues there, but I feel like when we brought Nick from the jungle into the mid lane and then brought in Colin into the jungle, it kind of gives us a lot more draft capabilities. And we can just play around Jake and myself to be like the two big carries. No, that this series I ended up being like kind of a Seraphine one trick, but this champion is absolutely massive for us. We literally never lose on it. It's kind of crazy that I'm even allowed to play this champion most of the time. I mean, me and Jake, we get these two champions. We're basically unstoppable, and a lot of our other players, Days, Snow, and Colin, they're really great facilitators. They're great team players, and I love playing with all these guys.
and speaking of that Seraphine, I've got to ask you, Grim, because I was high on you in the early part of the season as an AD carry, but how does it feel to become a support? Was the switch and roll hard for you?
No, honestly, like I mean, I don't mind taking a back seat. I mean, honestly, like I know that a lot of these new up and coming players, they have to ego on everybody, be the highest damage charts. But personally, I absolutely love making other people not have fun. And watching people basically kill themselves running into me is the highest satisfaction of any League of Legends game I can ever get.
I like how you say enable people to have fun, and then you play a champion that's like the most anti-fun.
Yeah, no,
It's
exactly.
for the other team.
Yeah, yeah, I'm a Soraka 80 carry enthusiast too. It's absolutely fun.
Well,
Well,
it worked out in games 1 and 2. I mean, we had Snow on that Rumble in game 1, basically just cooking the entire team of Miami, and then Mabud in game 2 on that Gangplank, taking a very long time to scale, but once he got there, he was there. That's kind of a question I have for you. Is in game 2, what were the comms like? Were y'all playing slow because you knew you could, or were you playing slow because you thought you were behind and just trying to stop the bleeding?
Yeah, I mean, the second game, like in the bot lane matchup specifically, like we can't do anything. Alistar doesn't particularly lane well into Thresh, and so we're basically just kind of hard farming. And the Morgana is starting to like outpace our jungler a bit, and we're getting like a little bit far behind. But I mean, we just know that like we outrange them, we outscale them, we're going to get their items and we're going to be able to get there. So we're just playing slow, trying to make sure we don't, 50-50 any random fights. Obviously, if Jinx gets a random reset or something, the game gets really hard. But we were never thinking that we were in a position to lose the game whatsoever.
Okay.
for sure. I mean, you guys, game two took a long time, but yeah, I agree that it didn't look like you guys were falling behind. It's just very, very slow and painful for us. But
Yeah.
that's it. Once again, you guys won this. You got your revenge. I want to ask a bit more of a general question here. You played through the entire Risen Divine split, and I think your team played the most games at the end of it, just because of the playoffs run. What was your most memorable moment throughout this entire split here?
Man, that's gotta be a crazy one, honestly. I think honestly my most memorable one, which happens to be the most recent one, was just the absolute feeling of success when I'm watching my top laner just solo kill their top under his tower, and then we're all just saying, "Stop the backs, end the game, let him go." And I remember Colin even asked, like, "Hey, are you gonna TP for this dragonfly?" He's like, "No, let me end the game." And it's moments like that that are just absolutely so fun.
Well, that's a great way to end the game. That's a great way to close out the championship title for your team. Once again, congratulations, as a really well played series from you and the rest of your team. Kind of hard to say just how impressed we are. I mean, going into this, I think most people would have put the Red Hawks as the favorites, and y'all showed up and 3-0'd them. So very well done. Congratulations on your victory. And I think that is all we have here. So thank you for joining us, Grim. And if you're going to join us next season, maybe we'll see you again then.
Yeah, love to see you guys there. Thanks.
Cool. Any shout outs you want to give, by the way, just while you have an opportunity?
I would like to shout out my boy on the enemy jungle, MLBD. He absolutely kind of made my team very upset by calling us intro bots, so we had to kind of kick it up to intermediate bots this time around. So I'm really happy to give him a little smacking.
I mean, game 3 was not intermediate. That was Doombots. I played Doombots.
All right, Grim. Well, thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you. Thank you.
Well, RMC, that interview concluded. I think the one last thing we have to do is we have to name an MVP of the series. And I don't think we have the most difficult of decisions here.
I mean, we interviewed Grim. You mean it's not Grim who's the MVP here, Coleslaw?
I mean, Grim played well. Don't get me wrong. It's just when you're on Seraphine duty supporting your teammates, it's a little harder to shine above. And someone did shine above. Do we want to just say it at the same time and see if we say the same thing? Because I bet we do.
Sure. Okay.
All
1, 2, 3.
My bud. Yeah.
It's my bud. Like, totally unplanned. We got the same person. And again, we kind of touched on it, right? Like game 2, game 3, it was all the Mabud show here. And even in game 1, the Gnar was super strong as well here. It wasn't the Rumble, but just overall and throughout the entire split, Mabud's been the rock in the top lane. I don't know if they ever actually substituted their top lane throughout the entire split.
Yeah, and he made it work. Game 3, I mean, what else is there to say other than he literally solo killed the Nexus by himself after a solo kill on his opposing top laner. That's about as dominant as it gets in top lane, is ending the game by yourself. So there are not many words to express it better than that. So I think that is it from us. That is it for them. They've got the championship. They've got the win. We've got our MVP. RMC, you want to send us out?
Yeah, you know what? Before we head out, I just want to thank all the people behind the scenes, all the admin here at Risen who make this possible here. For our producers who unfortunately don't get shouted out too often enough, tonight it is going to be Caddy or Synthemesis. I hope I pronounced that right. And all the casters as well who made this possible. I've also been told to shout out Colton because apparently Grim forgot to. But yeah, and thanks to all of you for watching as well. Your support makes all the difference here. It's always fun to have a chat with you guys. So hopefully we'll see all of you next split. If you've never played in Risen before, do it. There's leagues at literally every level here. And you know what? I can't wait till next season. But that's it from us for now. And we're done. The winter split here of the Risen Divine League 2021.
Thank you all for tuning in, and we'll see you next time.